I just gave it.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm doing sign language tonight. Did I lose my agenda? Yeah.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the September 10th, 2018 meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Before we get started, if we could all rise for our invocation and our pledge of allegiance.
Almighty God, we come before you and acknowledge your presence and Lord, the many blessings you bestowed in our community. Tonight we would ask as we delve into governance that you would provide us with sound mind, wisdom, and discernment. And as always, we each pray to you in a manner we were taught. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So once again, I want to welcome everyone at home and those who have attended the meeting tonight. Before we get started, one announcement before I forget. The fire department will be holding a 9/11 ceremony tomorrow night at 6 p.m. At the fire station located at 47 Central Street for those who would like to attend. For those who have not attended that ceremony in the past, I encourage you to do so, as they do a great job. It's a nice night to to recognize all those who lost their lives in that. So. Okay, so we have a full agenda tonight. A couple of quick things I want to get off the agenda because I know there are some folks here in the crowd that we can let go home. So why don't we have Jane Brumrell from Tour of the Greenbot? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. How you doing, Jane?
Great, how are you?
Good, thank you. Welcome.
Thanks.
So Jane, I understand you're here for a request for, is it a bike ride?
Yep.
Yep. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the ride, and we'll have any questions from the board.
Sure. I'm the events coordinator at Essex County Greenbelt. We're a land trust and conservation organization. We organize this ride every year to raise money for our nonprofit that conserves green space all throughout Essex County. So the ride is Saturday, September 29th. We have a couple different routes, and the 50-mile route and our trail route both go through Georgetown. So I'm here to request those that those routes pass through. The road route comes down North Street and then down 97. And the trail route comes through Georgetown Raleigh State Forest and then scoots onto 97 for a little ways before it passes out of Georgetown.
All right. Is this this is not the first time you've?
No.
Yeah, I recognize it.
Yeah, it's the third, I think. Yep.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So a couple of the customary questions. You've talked to Chief Cudmore already?
Talked to Lieutenant Hatch, and he said,
Lieutenant Hatch?
yep. And he said he didn't have any issues.
Everything's okay?
Yep.
All right. Janet, insurance, everything's in place. I see the insurance carrier here.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. All right. So I'll open up questions to the board. Anybody have any questions for Jane?
How many years have you been through?
I think this is the third year.
Third year?
Yep.
And how, I'm assuming that you get a good attendance or?
Last year, I believe we had 160 riders, so we expect somewhere between 150 and 200. Yep.
Everything, yeah, it seems like everything's in order, so I'm just glad that you keep coming back.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else on the board have any questions, comments? No? All right. If not, do you have any questions for us?
No.
Okay. If not, can I hear a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that we grant the event application for Tour de Greenbelt to take place on September 29th, 2018. But I don't see the hours.
So it starts at 9 a.m., so we'll have riders coming through possibly until maybe 1-ish.
Okay.
But it depends on the speed of the riders.
Oh, it's from 9 to 2.
Yeah.
9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the board? Okay, if not, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. All set.
Thank you so much.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thanks.
Hope you have a great day for it.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Okay. All right, we also have a request for a one-day liquor license, partners for Georgetown football, Jason Young. How you doing, Jason?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sure, thanks for coming. Jason, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you're here? And
Sure.
once again, we'll open it up to the board.
Great. It's my first year with Partners for Georgetown football. My son is on the team, Connor Young. They did this fundraiser last year, the Oktoberfest. This year we want to have it on Friday, September 28th. All proceeds go to the football team, the high school football team. We purchased things like headsets for the coaches, cameras for the coaches, jerseys for the players, and shirts and things like that. So this is an event, I believe it's our second year again, and it's a successful event for us. So, and I open the floor to questions.
All right, questions from the board? Doug?
I do. This is just for people 21 and over?
Correct.
And as there'll be alcohol served, is there
Yes, sir.
a limit on the number of beverages one can consume?
I would have to discuss that with the Newburyport Brewing. I'm assuming there is, but I can get that answer for you.
Okay, I was just curious.
No, it's a good question. I'll ask.
Well, this is certainly a good way to get that equipment that we wouldn't otherwise be able to
That's
afford
correct.
to get.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
It looks like at the event, it's just beer?
Just beer for now. If we can get a wine vendor, we would like to do that,
Okay.
if that's possible.
Yeah, I attended it, was it 2 years ago, so yes, this might be the third,
Oh,
actually.
This is the third year?
And, yeah, it was a good time, and I didn't recall any issues, so I think everyone was responsible parents, so.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
And we do have a police detail as well.
Okay. Where is this, by the way?
It's at Camp Dennison.
Is that Camp Dennison? Okay, and insurance is in place?
Yes, he gave me the certificate of insurance tonight and a check for the license.
All right, great. Any further questions, from the board? No? Okay, may I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we grant a one-day liquor license to the Partners for Georgetown Football Oktoberfest to be held at Camp Dennison Lodge on 84 Nelson Street between the hours of 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Friday, September 28, 2018.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? None. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay,
Thank you very much.
all set. Jason, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Have a great event.
Appreciate it.
There's two applications here. Yeah, one is a Camp Dennison application. We just went over, I believe, our liquor license. But there's another, a Camp Dennison, and it wants a signature of the Board of Selectmen designee. I don't know if we've ever done this or whether theirs should be cleaned up.
Well, there's both. That's the Camp Dennison
We've done
one.
this one, yeah.
Yeah, and we usually do that one also.
So we
That's
should-
the Camp
so
Dennison,
we
'cause
should
they get-
vote to allow the chair perhaps to sign this as our designee? Or would we just all sign it since we did this? I guess I'm just trying to figure it out. Because it is two separate applications.
No, one's the application, one's the license.
Okay. Yeah.
So
One's
the Camp
license.
Dennis one is
We just did
the
license.
application.
So,
And they look
I
for
just think
signature.
in the past, I don't remember kind of seeing two of them like this.
Yeah, well, the Camp Dennison, they have one, because they get it signed by the conservation agent, the police department. and
Right, yeah,
Camp
that-
Dennison,
yeah,
before
that's-
they bring it to us.
Yeah.
And then it comes to us and we do the approval, and then we do a license to give them, because sometimes they need that for the license
So
for the
since we've
vendor.
since we've just approved this, I guess it's probably just okay for the chair to just sign it?
Yeah, because it's all
Okay.
one, it's the same date, the same event.
Yep, no, I
It's-
realize that, it's just I never noticed it before, all these that we've done.
On Camp Dennison,
Yep.
they have an application.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. So let's go to the top. I think we have someone here from the Historical Society, the grant agreement approval. Yes? Why don't you come on up? No? Okay.
Unless you have questions.
No? Okay. Just open this up.
Chairman, this is a standard grant agreement that we've had with the Historical Society on numerous occasions.
Okay.
Every time they get a grant from the CPC, because they're not, quote, a town committee, we make a grant agreement, as we do with any non-town committee. We don't do them with actual town departments or, like it was the Historical Commission, we wouldn't do a grant agreement, but the Historical Society is a separate entity.
Okay.
And that, the only difference between this one and the last one is they are required to have a historical preservation agreement, but they've had two up till now on the same building. And I thought it'd be redundant to do it a third time.
Okay.
The previous agreements are still in force.
Okay. All right. Anybody on the board have any questions about this grant agreement?
I do, just, when do you plan on having the work begin?
The work is completed.
Oh, it's completed?
I have been waiting for several months for this grant agreement so we can get our
Oh,
money.
I didn't hear that part. Okay, good. Are you satisfied with how it came out?
Yes.
And did it take the whole $5,000?
Not quite, no. There's a little bit left over.
Is that it then?
That's it for me.
Okay, anybody else on the board? Gary?
Has anyone from the town checked it?
President should probably come up here and answer questions.
Because it says in this agreement that it should be checked. Do you know if anyone's checked it from the town?
The building inspector will be coming out. I was waiting for the grant agreement to get signed, and I'm going to be asking him to go out and take a look at it. He has taken a look at it once. We had a grant agreement for last year. We got $12,000, which was not enough to cover the entire project. So he went out when, about 3/4 of the work was done. I asked him if he could say yes, at least 3/4 of it is done, so we could get the $12,000 for last year. So we have received that. So he has seen it when it was almost done. But I will send him back out again just to confirm that it is complete.
Okay.
Yeah, we normally give 3/5 initially, and then after the building inspector inspects the work, they get the balance of the grant.
Okay, yeah, that's what it's on here. It's either you or him, I guess. So
Yeah.
he-
2017, we had requested a higher amount, and we got a reduced amount, which, like I say, wasn't enough to cover it. So we had a second request this year to cover the rest of the amount. So that is that. Plus, there was no alarm system update this year, too.
That's about it, Mr. Chair, other than, again, it says in the front, as it did on the last time we did one of these, in conjunction with the CPC, and either we've got to get to an answer on that at some point.
Why don't you expand into that, Gary? For those who don't know what you're referring to.
Okay, Community Preservation Committee has reviewed and approved the proposal and recommended. Okay, so that part we did. Has that been taken out, Mike? Maybe I am
Yes,
reading
it
this
has,
wrong.
Gary.
Okay, so we've changed this. It doesn't say anymore that we're doing this in conjunction with the
That's right.
community preservation. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Ma'am, if you could introduce yourself to the board.
Oh, sure. My name is Chris Comiskey. I'm the president of the Georgetown Historical Society.
Okay, appreciate it. Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, can I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that we grant the CPC. Hold on, I'm trying to get to the title of it. Just a catch-up. I move that we grant the agreement with the Georgetown Historical Society for the amount of $5,000 to be paid for the work performed at the Samuel Block-Bank Museum.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion on the board? Okay, if not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay.
Signatures.
Chris signed it.
I know we have the members of Park and Rec. If you guys can come up, please.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Dave's hiding back there.
For everybody on the audience at home, if you could introduce yourselves, please.
I'm Jim Demento, Chairman of the Park and Recreation.
And I'm John Dunleavy of Park and Rec.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you for attending tonight. Certainly appreciate it. Hope you had a great summer. So we wanted to call you guys to the board meeting tonight just to review some things that we might that we wanted to talk to you about in regards to a discussion we had last year, Jim, when you were here, and that is where are we on some of the projects. Also, kind of go over numbers in terms of where they are today, what you kind of vision for the future. But also, you had mentioned last year that this might be a job that someone that's either full-time or something along those lines might want to slip into. So I wanted to kind of bring you guys here tonight to also discuss that, because that's been kind of circulating, in my mind a little bit. Wanted to get your opinion. And by the way, before we do get on that, we want to thank you guys for another great summer. You guys did a great job on the fields and everything. So thank you for all your time and efforts to the town. So, once again, if you guys can give us a little bit of update on, a couple of the things you guys are working on first for the audience and for the board. Let's start there and we'll go.
Sure. So the main thing we did this year is we had to get and you have a contract out now to be signed, trying to get the next phase of the East Main Street done. And we only have $170,000 in our budget. But what was deemed required to be open is the parking lot had to be leveled. But in order to allow the parking lot, we also had to put we'll have to put the rain garden in, and we'll have to do reclamation of there's a 5,000-foot swamp area that was in that area. So we had some discussions early in June about whether that money could suffice, whether we don't want to send out a bid and and have all the bids go over. I'm going to pass around a one-sheet document that I filled out. This was done by Gale in 2004. So they actually projected different phases of the project, and you'll see all the yellows are what is subtracted. So I went through all the phases that would be done in the next phase, not doing the reclamation of the wetlands, and it comes out to be about 153,000 Gale estimated, and we got 170. So we're going to be. So there's two ways to look at that. One is Gale is usually pretty high because they're usually doing bids that are going on and, you know, closer to Boston where prices are a little higher. We're at the fringe of, you know, the suburbia. So it tells you, the good news is if someone was really hungry, I think we could get this bid below the 170 we have budgeted. But I also want to tell you that the last time we went out to bid, we had bids between 400,000 and 1.3 million. So they go over this huge range. Some people who aren't interested will throw a number at it thinking, so we have to get people who are interested in the town, interested in this project to bid on this. Someone's going to, one of the advantages, if we get the contract signed now, will probably be a month before Gale gets the bid out. It'll probably another month of legalities with the bidding process. So someone won't be able to start probably to the second week of November. Now, there are people who do construction, who do septic systems and stuff, that stops in December. So they theoretically could get this work done while they're not working on it. They usually finish up in December, they ride out to the spring. So there might be some interest if we can get this out to bid in this fall, late this fall. Or we'll have to delay to the spring. The risk in the spring is everybody starts up in the spring and this is not probably a great project for, you know, they want to get the big money makers in the spring. They usually, so. Now, in regards to your thought, okay, so
Yeah.
Dave has also done a ton of work on the field maintenance, and Little's Hill, he did some work.
Yeah.
All right, Jim, hold on 1 second. If we could,
Sure.
just do this as it comes.
Sure.
A quick question on that. So I noticed that part of that bid was including the skate park.
Not this bid. That bid was actually done in 2004, everything. So actually, there's 3 sheets. I just gave you the first sheet if you wanted to. The 3 sheets told us that this is, and you can have a copy if you want for down the road. It gives you what they thought the whole project would start from beginning to end.
But are we, I guess my question is, are we still completing the skate park? Is that,
Not in this phase. This phase, in order to get the park open,
Okay.
and with the money we had, the planning board said, you need the parking lot finished.
okay. So
Bring it up to grade, but because we bring it up to grade, we have to put a rain garden in, because that's part of you can't do one without the other.
Yeah.
And there's also the little reclamation area. There shouldn't be too much.
Okay, okay.
So those,
That makes sense. I guess all I would say about the skate park, and I know I've had some conversations with people on the committee, it sounds like that it was an idea that was presented way back when, in maybe '04.
Right.
And from what I understand, the people that were interested in doing it may not be in town anymore.
Sure.
So I think the question is, do we want a skate park? Does the town want a skate park? Is that something that we need, we may want to look at again and
Sure.
see what a better use is? That was my
no,
only
we've had that discussion as
Yeah,
well.
okay.
Isn't all that equipment already down there?
It's just cement, right?
Some of it is.
We
We
had
had
cement-
some
cement
used
ramp.
stuff we got dropped off.
But that could be, that's not the skate park that was originally designed. We got that equipment after. I mean, we've talked about, there's a number of different phases. One is just using that equipment, making an area, a smaller area than the one we originally designed, and putting in, other things other than, So there is going to be conversation in that area once the place gets open. I think it's going to,
Okay.
one of the things that may have to be done, and I'm not a planning board person, in order to get the park open, we may have to close this project at this phase and reopen it like a new project. I'm not sure about the legalities of opening up the whole thing with the planning board. So you might want to talk to the planning board about how that might work.
Sure, okay. Awesome.
Have we been keeping up with what's there already? Cutting grass,
Yeah,
all
actually,
that stuff,
Well, it
watering?
looks good. If you've been down there, it looks really good.
yeah,
Yeah, I was down there the other day. It looked great.
yeah.
Closed though,
I was
right?
gonna say,
No, it's
I've been
open.
down there.
It's open.
So that's also something. I mean, this park, if I'm not mistaken, should be closed. Yes. So how are people getting in if it's supposed to be closed?
Oh, I haven't been down there.
There's the lock there. You can go in through the lock if you know the combination. And that's what I do to check on the generator we have and so forth. Make sure the sprinklers are going off.
Yeah, so there's a number of people going in and out of there during the day to get things done. The grass gets cut, Peter gets the grass. we had a landscaper, this morning came in there, cut down a bunch of cut down a bunch of high grass, because we knew you might be going down to look at it, so we wanted to look a little. So it's open and closed. We have a combination, but normally when we leave, we close it.
So where did we end up, Mike, on that? I thought we were going to ask our liability, our carrier, insurance carrier, if we were okay from that standpoint, from a liability. I just don't recall what the answer
Yeah,
was.
until they get approval by the planning board, until the planning board agrees that what was permitted is done, we can't insure it.
So it isn't insured right now?
No. There's no liability insurance.
So in that regard, gentlemen, we're gonna make sure that's shut at all times.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Okay, all times. All right, make sure Kip can't get down there anymore. All right, Kip, you're not allowed.
I was like, this looks great.
Again, is there a sign down there that says enter at your own risk or no trespassing or
No.
whatever it is? No?
There used to
I
be.
thought it was a
but
closed
that was
sign.
taken down.
Yeah, it used to be.
Yeah, I thought there was.
We can put one up.
Yeah, I
I don't remember one being there, but we can put one up.
I think that would be wise.
I mean, if we
It
have
could get taken down
no
again.
insurance on it, that's crazy that we'd be letting people, because anyone gets injured and we're.
Yeah, that's the thing. It has to be shut. Okay, well, if you don't mind me, I'm not gonna lie to you. Why were you down there? Was it because of the dog park or?
I just wanted to see what was going on down there.
Oh,
And I thought it would be
was anybody else
closed. It
down
wasn't
there?
closed. No, there was no one down there.
Okay.
But
Because I know
it
people
looked
go around and
great.
take their dogs too.
Yeah, and there was some toys down there and whatnot. But I thought it was interesting. There were G Mellow barrels out. I thought it was interesting that there were G Mellow barrels out there. When
The
it's not
dumpster at the
being used.
beginning of the.
No, they're just regular trash barrels that people put at the end of their driveways. There were multiple spread out. So I thought it was open. There was no sign.
Were you able to drive down there or
Oh,
did
yeah.
you have to walk?
Was the gate
Oh, no.
closed or was it
It was
open?
wide open.
Oh, if it's open, the lock is off it. Or open.
Yeah, I mean, we can't stress the importance of making sure that's shut at all times. I mean, if we don't have any liability insurance, then, you know, we're opening up ourselves to a whole lot of hurt, you know, if something happens. So, if you guys could make sure that happens. Go again.
Do we take out separate policy for different areas?
No. It's a
So how-
general liability policy,
So how are we not covered if something happened?
because it hasn't been permitted yet.
I mean, I could see it as perhaps someone could say we were negligent or something, and perhaps a suit be perhaps more. But I mean, I would think that it's just like it's come up here before. We've got the rail trail. People are out there. Now, I know that we don't own that, but we've somewhat signed a right-of-way agreement. And I mean, we're not talking about that, so I just don't understand. Pardon me?
We do have an insurance binder for the rail trail.
Yes.
So do we have binders for other parks and that?
No. They're approved parks. This one isn't.
So because they're approved parks, we don't need it?
We're covered.
Oh, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
We don't need it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So we've got something in there that says we're not covered because this isn't approved, I guess. I mean,
I brought our loss prevention specialist from Maya down. He reviewed it and said, you know, once the planning board signs off on it, then it's covered.
Okay.
It's an incomplete, it's under construction.
Yeah, it's a construction site.
It's a construction zone, which really makes it dangerous.
Although you may have to do what you suggested. Close the project, say this is what we have planning approve it.
And then reopen.
Reopen if you're gonna build a
Right.
skate park or whatever.
Reopen it for the parking lot area.
Yeah.
That's been talked about with the planning board, you know, there.
Are they acceptable with that?
Well, like I said, I've got to talk to my park and rec members, but yeah, we've been going back and forth with ideas how to get this to work, so that's one of the options that seems to be out there.
Okay. Have you been in contact, I know the general answer is yes, but have you been in constant contact with planning as far as what exactly is needed, progress, anything along those lines?
Yeah, we went to one of the meetings, and they had a discussion about what, and we're going back to this spring, about what would need to open the park. And they required that the parking lot had to be graded and down and leveled and be finished in grade. And, but in order to do that, the rain garden and the wetlands reclamation is something the conservation would require us to do as a result of that. So those things had to be grouped as one.
Okay.
When we do the parking lot, there was a small wetland, so we can't take out a wetlands without replicating it somewhere else.
So you attended one of the meetings in the spring. Here we are in the fall, technically. What has been done in between the spring and the fall, to kind of further this effort?
So we had to get out. We had a discussion about. We tried to get the planning board's engineer to. So we went out and got a bid from Gale Associates, and half of the bid was $12,000 for their engineer to oversee the project. And we had an idea. Well, why don't we get the engineer at the planning board to oversee the project? Because he's the one that's going to approve it, and we're spending $12,000. But he didn't want to touch it. He said, no, hire that engineer, and I'll just review what the work that they're doing down there. So we had some discussions with them in May and June about how do we want to send this out to bid. Can we just bid half the project? Was I think these are rough numbers, $12,000 for the bidding documents and $12,000 for the overseeing of the work. So we couldn't touch the project until July 1st anyway. So on July 10th, they gave us the bid documents. But then we've had a problem with Mike and even the Park and Rec. We had 2 meetings, we didn't have a quorum. We have to have 4 members. So we didn't get that to Mike until August, and he didn't get it to you until now. So it's sat for, I had 2 special meetings that I called, but we just, we need to have all 4 members. We can't go with 3 because we're supposed to be a 7-member board.
What are you estimating for? Well, I guess I wouldn't know because
To finish?
Yeah.
I can get you that because I've been requested by the CPC is going to want to know that as well.
Because I'll say, there are a lot of people that are looking for this project to be done. You and I have had discussions about the need for some extra space for different for different sports. We're still trying to limit activity on West Street. In addition, we have the Pembroke field where a lot of games are going on, but if you have too much activity going on, it's just going to ruin those fields. So here's a field that we have that's just sitting there, okay, which is really frustrating for me. A lot of people around town. I have people even ask me about just simply the dog park, right? They want to bring their dogs down, and I keep telling people no, but obviously, they're going down anyway. So. So from that standpoint, I would stress that we should have some signage down there to say that there just can't be anybody down there. It's there's a whole lot of problem with that. So yeah, if you can let us know what the time frame is, because I think a lot of people are just out there in terms of where's the light at the end of the tunnel.
Right. If we can get this part of the project done now, we could be open. This would allow us to go back to the planning board in the spring and get it open in some phase. Now, when I say phase, it might be just practices, no games from out of time. I'm not sure. They talked about a level of open, but because, they say, okay, you might have practices there only and no games. I'm not sure. But I think with the parking lot being fully done, it should be safe enough to allow both to happen, especially if we close the project. But if we don't close the project, I think it would have to be some minimal phase of just practices or something. So we'll have to work with them to find the best deal for the town. But we have to get this phase in and done, at least by the spring. It'd be so much easier, it'd be so much more cost effective to try to get it in at the end of Thanksgiving, people looking for work at the end of the year.
Okay. All right. So what are you looking for from us regarding this tonight?
2 things. One is there's a contract to be signed. Is that true?
Yes.
It's a contract to be signed, and I just want you to know we're going to be closed. So if you know anybody local, I think this is a job with Bentley Warren being down the street. you're gonna have to use local people to do the work at a cost-effective manner. Someone isn't gonna bring all that material in from Woburn and give us a good price, you know? You wanna have, if you know any local contractors, to get them know this bid is, and I did it in the last part, you contact, this bid is out there, you know, would you take a look at it?
Have you talked to Peter?
No, I haven't yet, but I will,
Maybe he knows someone.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So why don't we stop there for a second? Any questions, you know, regarding that project? No.
No, I mean, all I have to say is, I mean, you know, it's we're all volunteers, right? And it's we got to remember that the school football field, that took over 10 years to get.
Anyway.
Yeah, to get in reality. So, I mean, while it is frustrating at times, and I know that we've voiced some frustration, at least from me personally, you know, as long as we're continuing on and we're not stopping, and we're trying to make progress. That's, I think, that's what we could do at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way, though. I'd like to see it open. We've all,
Sure.
it's been a little bit of a frustrating process.
Yeah,
It started a long time ago, this park,
Right.
so.
But yeah, with the closing, if you can close that project and open it and then spend all the time we need to figure out
Right.
what we're gonna do in other areas, that,
Right.
I think is the best way to
Yeah,
do
we
it.
want the fields used too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're sitting there. You saw them today, Kip. I mean, they're nice.
Yeah, no, they are. And honestly, yeah, there's a lot of teams that would love to use that just for even the younger kids for soccer, for practices. It's
Right.
perfect size.
Yeah.
Just another place for them to use would be really helpful. So,
Yeah, and lacrosse too. You know.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
same
an
thing.
open
Yep.
area. So.
Kids from the high school can actually, there's another, they can run down from you go up to the top field, it's really a skip and a jump if they wanted. Even the high school could probably utilize if they wanted to, because it's not
Yeah,
that far.
I think they have, right now, if they're playing on the turf, I think they go up to the top field.
But to go up from the top field to that area, isn't that far away as
okay.
a crow flies.
That's huge.
Yeah. So I'm saying in the future, there could
Gotcha,
be a
right.
potential.
And you know, and like everything that this board has been preaching, I encourage you to stay in constant communication, with both this board and the planning board, to make sure that everyone kind of knows what's going on. If you could, get some feedback if you need it.
They also,
if we can get there.
could I also use this opportunity since we're on TV to let them know we've been short of 3 members now for a year, so if anybody out there wants to contribute an exciting and vibrant board, that we're here to, a lot of people think they can just come to a meeting and see what it's like for a month or two. We've had people switch boards, come on our board, and they've switched to other boards, so
So we have 4 right now?
we have 4.
Okay.
And it really helps when you have a few more, especially for the meeting stuff, when you don't have an agenda. I mean, you don't have a quorum, you just can't do anything.
You have a meeting later this week,
Yes,
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
so it might be an opportunity for someone to come and visit and
Sure.
make up.
Okay. All right.
Well, there's a lot of interest in the park, so I would imagine there'd be somebody out there that would, or a couple folks that would want to participate.
Or at least attend a meeting. We don't get any attendance. You're right, there is a lot of people. Although, I'm sorry, we had one attendant.
Just, I don't know if Mr. Chair, but can I speak?
Sure.
I have attended several of their meetings, and I've also gone when they've been in front of the planning board several times, and if there's any way that I can perhaps be an in-between, I'd be happy to do it. I mean, perhaps I can be an in-between, work with them and bring it back to the board or something. I mean,
great.
maybe if we had a representative on our side to work with them, that might be helpful, so.
Gary, if you're open to it, I think that would be wonderful. So, all right, moving forward, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Moving forward, the other topic, in regards to, you guys, that is a hot topic every summer is ALP, right?
Yeah.
So, again, do wonderfully on the field. For someone who plays on it during the summer, I thank you guys for that. But we, continue to have issues, down there, and we had a discussion last year where my thought was we were at a point where maybe we could hire someone to, be down there on a constant basis and, basically charge, for parking. And that money could go maybe even towards that person who was down there. We're seeing too many problems, there that I think that we just need some more involvement, in that area. So, Jim, I know last year you said that wasn't a good idea, and because you thought that it wasn't feasible. Do you still feel that way?
Well, there's a couple of problems with the whole how you're going to do it. So the parking area is now designated as the rails trail parking area as well. So you're going to have people going down to use the rails trail or going down to use the park. The park, just because multiple parents go to different parks in different towns and they bring their kids to the playground. I don't know if the parking is feasible. Maybe the beach is feasible. You get a permit just to use the beach. You have your badge to use the beach, and you take out because I know in Boxford they do that, but something of that nature. They actually lease the area out to they do it a different way. They lease the area, I think, to their GAA, and then they go ahead and do it. But so I just don't know how controlling the parking lot's going to be feasible. The road now, you can't control the road. The road's not even ours; it's the neighbors. So, you can't say I'm going to close the road. So it's.
Well, my initial thought was we charge folks that are not living in town. The folks that live in town, you can get a special, tag or whatever, and they can go down, based on, what they're already paying in taxes, to the town. But for folks that don't live in town, they would need to, purchase that tag for the day. And again, the money that we collect, could go towards, someone that we have down there. And, checking, to make sure the people on the beach are there. One thing that has been, there's a concern about baseball games that come in later in the day, maybe to your point, rail trail, things of that nature. I think that's a good point, but I also have a problem with, on the rules it says the beach is open dusk till dawn. Is that right?
The park is open technically dusk to dawn.
All right. So maybe we can just change that around, because really I think the spirit is around that beach area. Right. So maybe we add something to say beach is open 9 to 5, all right, 9 to 4, 9 to 3. I don't care, right? Because if we can close it at 5, then we have a specific time that people have to be off. Then that person who is there, that is kind of looking over that parking lot can then leave, right? Okay. And then baseball games generally start at 5:45, if I'm not mistaken, and that people will be down there around 5. And then further, when softball starts, same thing. Those games don't start till 7:30. So maybe there's something we can do around that as just a answer to the question on how you do that, and I think it would help.
I mean, I can send you the warrant article that Andover did a couple of years ago for review. They had a similar situation, and they got a warrant article, and they presented it to town voters, and then it got approved by the district attorney. I mean, like I said, you're going to have, in order to go to that system, they have it closed. They have someone waiting there at the parking lot and taking, there is a concern, but our question was, we know it's a 4th of July that's a concern. We know some weekends, but the level, if you take away the 4th of July weekend, which is bad, how much other things happen during that summer? We know that's always been a big weekend there's a problem.
It all depends on the weather.
Yeah. It does, yeah, it does. So I can send that to Janet, and she can distribute that, because I looked at it a number of years ago, but like I said, until you start hiring people, it was a little bit more than we were willing to look at.
Understood. One second. The point about outside of July 4th, I think, is correct, but talking to our police department, it seems like some of those issues that have been reported are getting more severe though. There were a couple of incidents that, really were concerning to me when they were reported back to me. Whereas a few years ago, it was, some little things here and there, and I was like, all right, you know what? It's starting to get a little bit more severe. And I think some of the folks that may be attending are getting a little overboard, with things. So, I've been talking to, Chief Cumberland about, some of the alternatives, some of the, maybe answers to some of these issues. But I think that would maybe solve some. If we had someone just down there and who was able to just call the police department, if there was some issue or whatever.
No, getting to someone who's down there, I mean, the idea of, there's some issues with Camp Dennis and Bob Morehouse isn't there anymore. I mean, to have someone to do multiple places in town, I think he would be useful where he could be down the park and if things are slow, he could go to other, because I know there's that's another place, even though it's not recreational, it still could use some help as far as having people down there to oversee some of the daily things.
Okay. All right, let's see if I know you have a point.
I just had 2 points. One regarding the parkings. So you made a point that the rail to trail is accessible there. Once that gets opened and approved, is there a specified number of spaces that we need to have for that?
We didn't have anything, we didn't get involved in that process. The Rails Trail put that on their list without consulting with us, so we don't know what they presented to the state.
Okay.
They had to have so many parking spaces available to the Rails Trail, and they threw that on as an option for the town. We did not know until after that was actually into the state that they had even done it. So I have no specifics about, I just know that in order to have so many parking spaces, they use some of the American Legion Park as spaces, and that's a good question. I don't know if we have Rails Trail members left who could talk to Dick Paganelli or any of the old members who would know that.
Yeah, we probably should get you guys together and see what.
Because we were kind of shocked that we had, like I said, they had done it, and we heard about it like a year later. They didn't consult the members that were there at the time.
Gotcha. That was the first I've heard of it, so I wasn't even aware. And I think the other question I had was, I know that Chief Cudmore during our last meeting, I think it was, so he brought up a good point in regards to, is there a way that we can treat ALP under the same way that we do it for Camp Dennison? So it's like, Friends of Camp Dennison, they have this whole document together of what the policies, the procedures, and how things are run. Would that be something that you think that your board would be open to, kind of talking with them and seeing, is there anything that we could apply to ALP Park that kind of mimics that? Or?
Yeah, we actually this spring put out a whole new set of regulations that were approved by Cudmore as far as the permitting and stuff and what's allowed.
Right. Well, that was for him to be able to enforce it.
Right,
just
correct.
In terms of policies and procedures and how things are run down at the park. It may be something, if you can leverage what's already being done.
Yeah, I can look into it.
That might be an idea. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, no.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So, Jim, 30, 40 years ago, members or residents of the community bought stickers
Right.
for their car. I forget the amount, it was $25.
They went to, yeah.
So, would it be feasible to go back to it?
Right.
Well, let me finish.
Yep.
To a sticker program and then have a day pass for non-residents?
So when we did that 30 years ago, Dave Showers did it at the mobile station, which wouldn't be allowed now because it'd have to go to the town clerk for the stickers. So we only made like $500 or $600 out of that sticker program. There wasn't a lot of money made. And now that if you hire someone, yeah, well, you want to talk?
We made $1,500, $2,000
$2,000. A couple years, we made close to $3,000. And we'd give the first sticker, it's just say it was $5. The second sticker was for nothing if they came down and presented the registration of the car and a gas bill or something like that. Then they got the second one or the third one for nothing.
For a resident.
And somebody wanted a visitor's pass, either lifeguards had them, because the lifeguards were selling stickers too, or they could come down to the gas station and get a day pass for nothing. Okay, as long as people, I'm with the Shower family. Okay, it worked out good, but you can't do that now because it's open. After spending the money down there, taking it from the CPC, we have to open it up. It's a mess. Worked out beautiful. And the police department could come down, and all they do is walk around, make them believe they're writing tickets, and the people would leave from the beach. We had no problem at all. I think the stickers.
Going back to that premise, because I know I read the law here a couple of meetings ago, and because it is a park, it's not for the exclusive use of a municipality or its residents. That's open to the people of the Commonwealth. So, without having to quote the whole thing again, but anyhow, besides that, if we did a sticker program and have a day pass, and use those monies that come in for that for, paying personnel, or lifeguard, or even towards maintenance.
Andover has a system that's similar to that, and I don't know the specifics of Andover. They give residents a season pass. They give out-of-town residents a one-day pass. My suggestion was it was passed 4 or 5 years ago, so it's not an old. It got through. My suggestion was have someone review that to see if that could be applied in this application. I don't know if they have a park or but that's how they do it.
All right, Jim, if you could.
I have that.
Send that to me,
Yes.
and we'll review it with Mike in legal counsel, and I think that would be a nice jumping off point.
Yeah.
That we can start reviewing how it applies here.
Yeah.
And if we can do it, we can have further discussions on the board regarding, next actions and talk to you guys about it. Okay. I think that would be good. Any other questions regarding ALP on the board, Gary?
Yeah, I've been through there a lot this summer, and one group that I see using it a lot is tennis. Do they sign up for time in that for the tennis? Okay.
Yes, Juliet handles that. And it's now pickleball tennis. And when we were talking about the possibility of downsizing the skateboard park, East Main Street, there's been talk about maybe putting pickleball there as well as an alternative to that space. We also have basketball wanting multiple spaces.
Yeah. So you do have procedures in that, which is probably sort of like what you were saying about Camp Dennis. In other words, they do have people that sign up for this.
Right. There's anybody who takes the pavilion for a party has to take out a permit. People at West Street that take out, we have some programs, there's camps that run there, they take out permits.
No, I was surprised at the tennis activity. There's quite a bit down there.
It's good tennis. It's a good tennis surface for good tennis players.
And so, like, if some group wanted to use the basketball court also, that would be similar. Do you have that happening now?
We had one. We had one guy who wanted to have exclusive this hours, this time, his team go down and play. But typically there's pickup games, but it allows a person, if they want to set a time, I'm going to have, they can take out a permit. And we had that was done once this year. I can't remember the event. I think he took it out for 2 or 3 hours. It was like a tournament. He had 3 groups of kids that were playing.
And so you mentioned Juliet helps you, so even though she's not on the board, she's still working with you as a...
Yeah,
but she can't help you with the quorum and that.
Right,
because,
right. Yeah, we still keep in touch, and even Suzanne, we have old members, they're all...
I just want to say, other than, I guess, 4th of July was a problem. I mean, the beach was well used this summer, and I think it's great to see it being used. Matter of fact, on that, maybe I just use this. I wanted to take a little time tonight to to thank the people that put the concerts on. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, that parking lot is full when they have them concerts. And I don't know what would happen there if it was a sticker event. I mean, that's just, I'm just saying, that's just some of the things that we have to all think out.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why I say if we limit it to, because again, the stickers are really designed for the beach, not for anything else.
well,
So if we stop it at 5 o'clock, what time the concert start?
But they start at 5.
At 5?
Yeah,
I mean,
but
so that-
to say to your, I mean, I wouldn't want to see the beach close at 5. I mean, you know, people are getting, it's 90 degrees and you're getting home from work. One of the first things you might want to do is go down and take a dip in some cool water. And
I agree,
you know,
there's only so much we can.
Yeah,
we
so
can-
Just to give you a little hindsight, I mean, 15 years ago, no one was down that park. The Board of Health got the water, you know, they're
the
working.
geese had it taken over.
Well, the town, we had the bacteria counts, the bacteria counts are high for the geese, and the Board of Health got all the people to do Title V and got that pond is clean, and it's really clean.
You've been doing a good
And
job of
it's-
keeping it clean.
this is a problem we're having, but it's a good problem, because this wouldn't have been a problem 15 years ago. There was no one using the waterfront.
You know,
So-
I mean, I've heard there's been good comments about how, you know, it's not all bad comments. I've heard that there's been good comments about how clean the place is. That, you know, people are happy to go down there for the most part and have a nice, clean place to go.
I mean, like I said, I think in a couple of years, I mean, the first thing this town has to do is get that rails trail on the map to get done. We have to, and once that happens, we'll probably have to think about getting a permanent member to handle that. There's going to be a lot of issues, barrels at the rails trail, issues with, you know, to have a park and recs person who's a full-time person at that point in time. And that's true. But the really thing we got to do is get us a name on that build schedule to get that rails trail started. It's going to be great for this town. It's going to go right through the business district. It's going to bring people in. You know.
If I can just continue a bit. Now, you mentioned at our last meeting, Joe, that you knew someone that might be able, was that to work with them, or are you talking to hire, or to be on the Park and Rec Committee? Is that the option still out there?
It was just, you know, people that I envision that would kind of step in and do a good job on a full-time basis.
Yeah.
So you're thinking of an employee?
Thinking of it, you know, that's the thing.
Yeah,
Again,
which is
and this
budgetary and,
Yeah,
yeah.
and this was, you know, directly
good.
related to
Yeah.
Jim's comment last year, and something we'll talk about in a second is the job getting too big?
Okay.
You know, for Jim or even the board for that matter. You know, where are we? I've asked Jim to come equipped with some thoughts in terms of everyday, responsibilities, numbers in terms of what it costs them to do things. Just things of that nature, so we can start talking about it. And I also wanted to ask Jim, are we there? Are we at a point where we do need someone who's going to a lot more time than Jim can put in?
I think it'd be a combination of people. I don't know how people at Camp Dennison are. They changed. I know they're getting older. I mean, in this sense, Bob Morehouse and the 5 Bobs are now getting to a point they're stepping out. I don't know who's really stepping in over there as far as Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, you know. I know there's canoes going out, people are using that facility, so having a person who's has a couple of different jobs, you know, one would be the park in the morning, getting it open, getting it clean, making sure, and maybe running, we have now multiple places, but, you know, I'm at work, like I said, 9 to 5, so I'm not available. Dave's local in case something happens, but I mean, it's gonna be a time, I think, when the rails trail comes. It's just gonna be a good opportunity to.
Jim, I mean, I'll say one of the things that prompted my thought process again. Well, first of all, was your statement last year when you were in front of us, and I didn't forget that. But some of the projects that might need a little bit more time, like. Do you feel like East Main Street would be further along if you had more time, to do it?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Is if we had someone who had, a little bit more time to kind of research certain things.
I mean, last night I just threw 15 or 16 things. I said, I mean, the state forest is no mapping of those trails. The woman who was here saying going through the state, no one's put up any of that. I mean, that's just a quick list you could give the person on this first day, and that would take them. There's no parking lot. We got the money for the parking lot at at the community garden so no one gets killed on 133. And that hasn't been done, although the conservation keeps on getting to a point. Lufkin's Brook needs a parking lot, Meeting9 needs a parking lot, Driftwood Farm needs a parking lot. These are all projects that they, parks, recreational directed things that could, we have the greenway that's out there, there's no trails, there's trails out there, but they're not really marked, and there might be some bridges over wetlands that could be done. There's a lot of work that we could get them, like you said, and when the rails trail goes through, these businesses are gonna you wanna drive the people off the rails trail and onto the businesses, off to CVS and that plaza to get milk and, to get stuff and spend money. You don't want them to come to town without spending money.
Yeah. And admittedly, Jim, these things you're having a tough time getting them done because of the time.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. It's not, we're getting to a point now where, my job has changed. I had a lot of time I could step out. My other job, I don't have that freedom now. So it's kind of job directed too.
How much time do you think on a weekly basis do you feel someone would need to allot to this position to really, be effective?
It's more about the season, from April 1st to September. At least I would say 30 hours, and then scale it back for those other months.
Okay.
I think now it all depends. A lot of people have that flexibility. People who are retired or something that want to.
Well, I'll tell you, Jim, the three gentlemen that I have in mind, all three of them fit this scenario.
Nice, yeah.
Because I know, kind of what goes into it, and all three have expressed that interest because they have that time.
Sure.
That they can allot to it, and, if we did have a budget for it, they would also be interested because it's extra income for them as well, so.
In the winter, there's things that we're not doing, like I think the PTA took up the ski club. They could now pass it on to the recreational program. There's other things that can be done in the winter that aren't being done, So, like I said, we could probably do 15 or 20 hours in the winter and still spend their time too. We have a Rick Gardella who does the teen center. We could move some of that stuff,
Did you bring a budget with you?
Dave has a budget. I didn't bring a copy of it. He could send you a copy of our budget.
Yeah, if you could, just because, it's probably our first step when we even talk about, trying to figure out whether we want to bring someone on. So,
yeah, I'll get you a copy of the budget. Yeah.
Okay, so the budget and, and Andover's bylaw, that would be great, so. And if you could, just lastly for me, what are the roles that you have from April to September? What do you guys know? There are a bunch of fields, so what are you guys taking care of, and what do you do at the fields?
So Dave is in charge mostly of the fields, and Alk is in charge of the Mike down at American Legion Park. So we have to basically get everything open. The sprinkler systems, we turn off all the sprinkler systems in the fall. Spring, we open up all the sprinkler systems. We get all the barrels out. We put all the tennis nets in the tennis courts. We get the beach cleaned up, the beach area. There's a number of things. We have a whole gamut of things. Water gets turned on, the bandstand gets checked, electricity gets checked.
The lights weren't working in the bandstand. We fixed those. The lights for mush ball weren't working at American Legion Park, so I ran around and found an old circuit breaker that's in that old panel that's there. So that panel has to be updated. There's a lot of things that we jury rig for now. It's like, okay, we'll get it going for the game, and then we don't think like, well, why don't we get it really fixed right, and then we'll put it in the budget and so forth.
Yeah.
So
Doc's got to come out.
a lot of triage goes on too.
Yeah. Dave usually does a lot of the West Street stuff. That has its own set of opening of West Street and Little's Hill.
Which looks great. I don't know if anyone's been down there. West Street's the best I've seen in 20 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, he had soccer time, so.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's like it's green.
But and Dave and I talked about this. It's the problem is then, now you have a full season of overuse, right? Because we're lacking some fields and.
Right.
But that's what we're talking about with East Main Street and trying to see some other fields come online. Because then by the end of the season, it's brown again. And then, and then the spring comes and, we're at it again, with lacrosse, starts as well.
Yeah, it's
so.
overuse.
Okay, so we got West Street, we got Little's Hill, What else we got?
American Legion, we open up these 2 parks. Dave works with Dave works with Peter to make sure the parks are open. Water's got to be turned on in all of them. The regulator's got to be put in.
Who takes care of the facilities at ALP, i.e. Oh, okay. Restrooms, things like that.
We do the park and rec.
Okay.
We hire a woman who opens and closes the park in the morning and closes it in the evening.
Okay.
But Mike does all the bathroom stuff in there and gets all the paper goods.
She does all the cameras, all the surveillance stuff, too.
Yeah, we have a camera that gets, just in case we have an issue, we can have some sort of, it's not the best camera, but it's better than nothing. Permits got to be taken out for all the parks, for the GAA, all the times that they're using baseball and the different organizations, and making sure there's no conflict with any of the baseball games, soccer, lacrosse. They all start taking out their times, and they all got to be big permits go in for all the different times. Biggest thing is, which I think we've only had a problem once, is double permitting people.
Do you do that online, like how to schedule it, or do you guys?
Yeah, Juliet has done a lot of it the last couple of years for us. We used to
Like
do it.
if I wanted to go, is there a spot I can go online that says,
No.
nope, it's not open, or it's not available?
No, we talked about having that when we have a park and rec director, that you can go on and reserve it, and she would see it or something, or you could request it. And we have an office upstairs at the American Legion, but there's no one there to man it.
Gotcha.
You know, if you want to go and play tennis in a half an hour, you could go in and reserve your spot and make sure it's open, you know?
Right.
Jim, I was just actually given your budget, 2019. It says salary and wages permanent. What is that?
So we have Rich Gardella, who's the teen activities coordinator for us. He's
He's been here forever.
yeah, I think so. I think
He
10.
came about, we hired him when we started the teen center,
That was,
years ago.
yeah.
All those kids are out of high school now.
Oh, yeah.
Probably out of college.
Right. I mean, yeah, he looks about as old as I do. That's for sure. I mean, we also have Mike, who's the maintenance man down. He's the other regular employee. Those are our 2 salaried.
Is Janet's salary?
So what's Rick's?
And Janet's, we have her budgeted.
Teen center?
What's Rich's role? Event coordinator?
He's a teen activities director. He has, does a Red Sox game, does the dances at the school.
Okay.
So he's basically teen, just trying to put some.
And that's not part of the school budget, that's part of the rec.
Park and rec.
Okay.
He has the Canterbury Lake, he does Canterbury Lake once a year. Maybe he does so.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember when we hired him.
Yeah, he's been a good,
I didn't realize he was still on.
So Steve can pass that around. Any other questions from the board for these gentlemen?
What's the topic right now? I mean, just what you're discussing, what they.
So we just discussed. I'm going to take a look at their budget.
Okay.
But I guess in closing, Jim, certainly move forward with what you guys are doing, right? I think my next step with the board is to discuss maybe at our next meeting or at another point what we found out today. Just from the standpoint of you being the chair and seeing what is around, what is your recommendation tonight? Is this town ready for someone who needs to be in place a little bit more hours?
I definitely think so. I think it's really going to come to. We don't want to wait 2 or 3 years and have the rail show come in and then just be swamped. There might be a year that he's, but there's plenty to do. I mean, there's plenty to do. So I think it's a good opportunity for the town to do it now.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to get any easier. The workload's not going to get any less.
Okay. Okay. All right, so you okay?
Yeah, well, so just give me Mike back.
All right, gentlemen, all gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I really appreciate you answering our questions.
Thanks, guys.
If you can get us that information,
Yep.
just on the Andover thing, because we have the budget.
Yep.
That would be great. I think it would be a nice stepping off point. And, we might ask you to come to another meeting
Sure.
at another point once we see that, have those discussions and go from there. Oh, yeah.
Who, just maybe with this group here, who else might be good to get in front of us on this discussion? I mean, we've got Open Space Committee, that I believe has some CPC funds out there that they're doing things with. We've just recently appointed a committee with the CPC funds that were voted to try to go out and look for fields because of, as you mentioned, the overuse. So, I mean, I think it probably shouldn't just be us and them. There might be others that we can get together to try to workshop this
Rail
thing
to
and
trail
figure out.
might be a good one.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Roop was here last week.
yeah.
If he'd have been here tonight, he could perhaps could have answered the parking situation. So, I mean, on the big picture, I think there's a lot to do. And I went over our last meeting. I watched a little bit of it, and I mean, and I know that you're out there. You truly want to help, and I want to do that also. But I mean, I don't think it's just between us and them. I mean, if we pull
Camp
all
Dennison
the,
may tell you, I'd like to have a guy for 3 hours. Conservation say, hey, if you get those trails
Camp
mapped, I
Dennison
might need a
group.
guy for 5. You might find out that 20 hours becomes 30 in the winter or something. Because they have, Camp Dennison's, I don't know what they do Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. They may say, that's a weak part. We may need coverage for, have a guy go down there, open this, open that. So it would be good to have the conservation, which is Camp Dennison, and the Rails Trail. Just say, hey, if we had a guy, could you utilize him in any manner that would make it, and you might get a couple of things going on with them.
Well, some of the things that you mentioned about the parking that you gave us a list. I mean, we've partnered a lot of the conservation land. We partner with who's the one we typically use? Was it the one that was here earlier? The green, the green belt. I mean, we put a lot of land in, and there's supposed to be parking. There's supposed to be trails.
Right.
At some of this land, and it's sort of like nothing's happening. So it's not just these areas. We've got a big picture that I think the strategic needs call it a mini strategic plan or whatever you want to call it, but going forward, I'm just saying that it's.
The CPC purchased that land. There was supposed to be parking so the residents could use it.
Yeah.
We weren't buying it for the neighbors. We were buying it for the town.
Yeah.
And they haven't fulfilled that obligation. So, I mean, in the sense, it's just for walking. It's beautiful in so there is opportunities to catch up on some of these places. That's all. Like I said,
Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there also.
all right.
I don't believe it.
Jeff,
Oh, yeah.
there's 2 other items while these guys are here.
Yeah.
And I also just want to add, Camp Dennison has a full-time live-in caretaker.
Okay.
He's there 7
Yeah.
days a week and takes care of everything at the camp.
Okay.
So, also, we have this design contract for the East Main Street project from Gale Associates. Jim, do you want to explain it to them?
Yeah, it's basically what we talked about before, the parking lot, the rain garden, and the reclamation of the conservation area. It's really to bring it up to a point at which we can open the park. It's about a
21,000.
21,000. Of that,
That's
12
just the design.
That's the design, and they have the engineer oversee the construction, right? So it's design, design going out to bid, and engineering. Now, out of that 21,000, 12 of it is overseeing the construction, which I'd hoped we could have found a way to. They weren't happy with the Gales overseeing the construction last time, so I put it on the emphasis, if you're not happy, why don't we get our own? But that seems where we're going to go. The advantage of having Gale is they're doing the project, they're doing the bid out to have them oversee the construction. I gave them the opportunity, if they weren't happy with Gale, to hire their own planning board, to hire someone that they knew, but they were okay with. So.
contract.
This has been reviewed by town council.
Yes, both town council and Gail's attorneys have reviewed it and agreed upon it.
Good.
Question on that? Okay, Mike, on that, yeah, it's 21,000, and as he said, some of this is going to be overseeing it. So is there a payment plan in here? How does the payment go out? You know, like the other one, we saw 3/4 of it goes out. I mean, we're not gonna give them this whole sum and hope that they oversee the engineering. Are we holding back a certain amount
Yeah, it's
until
not
the
a
work is?
lump sum contract. They bill for time and,
Okay, so that's how it's set up?
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, anybody else?
All right, so we need to approve this and then sign it. So
Yep.
I make a motion that we approve the agreement for professional engineering services between the town of Georgetown, Massachusetts, and Gale Associates Incorporated for East Main Street Recreational Facility Improvements Phase 2 in the sum of $21,000.
21,840.
Yep.
First page. Handwritten.
Hold on. Glasses. In the sum of $21,840.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Opposed? Okay, what's that?
And Mr. Chair, one last thing. You guys need a transfer to pay the water bill, right?
We need a transfer to pay the water bill. I don't know.
Line item transfer.
For West Street.
West Street?
West Street water bill?
It's paid already.
No.
When I paid that, the bill was 6,000 something.
Yeah. It hasn't been paid. You don't have any money to pay it. You know the,
I talked to Kathy a week ago, a week and a half ago, and everything was all paid for.
yeah, it's not.
Okay.
Well, I'll stop in and see her, but I mean.
Well, no, they have to do a line item transfer. Mary gave me the wrong
Okay.
numbers.
Okay.
We were just taking care of it because that
We were
bill couldn't be paid.
$2,500 short, and so I said, why don't we take it out of the revolving account? And she said that was fine.
That's not what,
Well, then there's three different things going on.
they were gonna do a line item transfer. I don't have the paperwork. We'll have to do it at the next meeting.
Okay. I was gonna say, why don't we wait and make sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kim, I have a question for you. It doesn't even have anything to do with it, but is the Camp Dennison family outing this weekend? Do you know?
I don't know. I think it might be.
I think it is.
yeah.
So this Saturday, Camp Dennison usually has a family outing
Nice.
in September. The selectmen are there cooking hot dogs for your culinary pleasure.
Really?
And there's all types of activities that take place.
Huh.
Hope you all come down, and I hope we don't get hit by the Florence rains.
Well, did they put a new roof on that? We can go inside though, right? Go check out the new
That
roof.
looks good,
No,
actually.
just put it out to bid.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. That's all right. So bring your raincoat.
We got all the trees to protect us, right?
All right, anybody else?
Is this
That was just, yeah, you can have it or throw it away. That was just if we had a guy started and I just,
And gentlemen, again, if you could, I strenuously ask that you make sure that East Main Street is shut.
Okay.
And closed and locked.
okay.
All right, put a bubble around it. No one can pass in. If we don't have some signage, we probably should have some signage down there.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, you want the, at your own risk?
Yes, sir.
No, use at your own risk.
Not at your own risk.
Okay.
Do not enter, please take notice, something like
People
that.
walk through the woods and everything else to
Yep.
get in there. There's an awful lot of people still using that dog park. They
Yeah.
park at the gate and walk in.
Yeah. I absolutely, that's what I said. I mean,
The woods.
there are people walk, all the time that say, yeah, I was down the dog park, and I was like, how are they at the dog park, but,
Sign.
but at that point in time, that's why I think we need the sign. If we have it locked, I mean, are we liable as long as the gate is locked and we have signage?
Just lock it.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing. We just need to make sure that we can say we have the gates locked and we have signage saying no trespassing, basically, right?
Right.
Because that's how we're going to cover ourselves as a town from the liability standpoint. Okay.
Yeah.
And hey, listen, we thank you guys for all the work that you
Again,
do.
gentlemen, thank you.
I have to sign down
Thanks,
here.
guys.
It says,
Yep.
Park is
John.
closed, use at your own risk, and I was told to take it down.
Bye.
Me.
Why?
You don't want
Because
to.
you
Yeah,
can't use it at any risk.
Oh, it's because of the wording?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
It
All right.
just should say park is closed.
Yeah. Park is
Construction
serious.
site,
Yep.
keep out.
Yeah, just,
No trespassing.
okay.
Well, you could put like Sasquatch sighting area.
Thanks again, gentlemen, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
So we're gonna
Guys, last guy standing, go on up. Thanks for the patience, we appreciate it. Again, I wanted to clear the room, for you guys. I'm sure this is something that you don't want everyone in here. Everyone on TV can see, but not in here, so.
Absolutely, yeah,
Welcome
thank-
again, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Coming out.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Dan Glissman, attorney with Prince LaBelle Tie, here on behalf of Peak Limited, here with Matt Kumpf, principal of Peak Limited.
This is your third time here, right? You're like our brother now.
I know, I feel like a regular.
It's okay.
Oh, well, thank you.
Hi, Matt, how you doing?
Good.
Good. How's Dad?
Good.
All right, what do we got?
So you're seeing before you a copy of the host agreement that we have been working on with KP Law over the last couple of weeks. Should be in substantially the same form as the other host agreements that have been brought before the town of Georgetown. It contains the state allowed maximum of a 3% fee, gross revenue share of Peak Limited's revenues, and sort of allotted amongst different areas. There's a 0.5% allotted to the community impact fee, 2.25% allotted to an annual community benefit fee, and then 0.25% allotted to a charitable donation.
Okay.
The term is limited to 5 years with a renewal clause where we'll negotiate a new fee or impact fee, what it may be, after that period. And if we can't come to a reasonable agreement in a timely fashion, the fees will continue according to the agreement. And those are really the highlights of the document. Like I said, it's in substantially the same form as the other agreements that have come before you. As of Thursday, we were working on one last issue with KP Law with respect to a provision just reciting that the agreement couldn't go outside of the bounds of the state statute, and just the wording on that took us a couple of days to get around to, but we've worked everything out, and the agreement's in final form, and we're ready to execute pending questions and discussion by the board.
I feel like we have like a last minute baseball trade here.
Yeah.
That comes before us. Go ahead, Doug, I'm sorry.
Let me input. Mike and Dan and myself have been working on this for some time now. It's gone through many different gyrations, and so hasn't CCC guidelines. They seem to change, it would seem like daily, but pretty much weekly. The document that you have here tonight is really something that was just finalized this evening around 6:30. And we got this document from KP. It was sent at 7 o'clock. So that's why you haven't had it in your hands prior to this. We stay within the spirit and boundaries of the state statute. That's why so really the parts that we're most concerned with are the dollar amounts. And as Listening stated, to 0.5% for community impact fee, 2.25% for the annual community benefit, and 0.25% for charitable. And that leaves us, that doesn't give us any chance of falling outside of that 3% maximum.
Okay.
But sometimes with guaranteed minimums, you could fall outside that 3%. If there was a bad year, and let's say $100,000 was agreed on, but the year came and it was only $70,000, that would cause that company to have to come up with another $30,000, which could be that much over 3%. We don't want to do that. We don't want to wring every last nickel out of people. And so there are some communities, there's a lot of controversy around. There are some communities that are 4 or 5% and all kinds of things. And that's what's the consternation taking place, you know, at the legislative level. And I'm certain that once the legislature goes back into session in January, that they may take this whole thing on host agreements and the statute up again. Maybe give the CCC an edict saying they have to do certain things. But currently, if the host agreements, what was being suggested was to review the hosting agreements of the people that are applying now, and if it was outside that spirit, they were going to hold up that applicant's license, which is really, when you have your smaller businesses, that can really impact them, you know, financially, and almost cut them out of the market if they had to keep waiting and waiting and waiting. So basically, we have a good agreement, and I would encourage you all to consider approving that. And it's easy for me to be able to approve it tonight because I've been working with it. But
and I might just add that with respect to the state law and the scope of the agreements, there, as Doug said, there's a lot of controversy around these documents, and one of the more difficult aspects of it is that many municipalities are trying to go outside and around the state law, and it's what's happening is it's pushing out sort of the local and smaller business operators because they just don't have the same pockets as some of these national companies that can come in and offer, you know, a minimum of $500,000 a year or whatever that may be. And so, you know, it's very forward thinking of this board and town of Georgetown to, you know, ensure compliance with the state law and, you know, be welcoming to smaller businesses. So, yeah, thank you. And
I might ask a question. How did your, I wasn't able to attend the community forum.
It went well. We had all of our neighbors, every single butter to the property did attend, and we, Mr. Fowler was there, so it was good, and we didn't have any issues with the people that, yeah, it was a good meeting.
My wife would have liked to spend our anniversary evening doing that.
Yeah. But no, it was a good meeting.
Yeah, good. So this is the last thing you need?
That's right.
To be able to submit your application?
That's
application process is all ready to...
Yep, that's right. We'll be, as soon as we've finalized the host agreement, that's really the last item that we're waiting on, and once that document is complete, we'll hit submit on all of our applications and get into the queue. Now, it's a slow process. Yeah, I do. I have a copy of it.
So would you consider this complete?
I would. Absolutely.
I don't know what the pleasure of the board is.
Well, you know, if I could, one thing I want to make sure in terms of process, so monies are collected on a year-to-year basis, correct?
That's right.
Okay, and it's a 5-year period. In any one year, just as a hypothetical, what if you actually move to another facility outside of town?
Yeah, we would account accordingly and prorate the fees as applicable.
Is that in here somewhere?
I'm not sure if there's an accounting based on transfer of a location, but I do believe that there is. Actually, yes, there would be. If the facility closes, we're required to prorate. I think it's under the termination section. I would have to.
And by the way, I know you're not planning on that, but you never. I'm just saying. Just want to make sure we're covering on this. Okay, and the amount is calculated by. I'm just reading this.
Yeah,
just keep it, we haven't read this over, but you have to submit financials on
That's
a
correct.
basis.
At the end, within 30 days after the end of our year, and the term begins as of the start of sales. So we commence once we make our first sale, that's when we'll start our annual term.
So if your annual sales start in July, all right, so obviously you're going to report from July to December, but you won't have a full year under your belt, right? So it doesn't make sense. So you would have to report the 6 months plus an interim statement for the 6 months from, those from December to the next July. Is that how we're going to do this?
No, it's a year from the date sales begin. So if it began on the 1st of July.
So that's what I'm saying. They're going to just give us.
Then we go to the 30th of June the next year.
Right.
Then they would have a month.
So that's what I mean. Are we going to be okay just with interim financial statements, internals, P&Ls, if you will?
We haven't determined what.
Because I'm thinking your fiscal year will be calendar.
That's right. Yep.
All right. So obviously those times don't mesh, right? Because calendar year we're talking January 1 to December 31st. If they start operations in July, we got to figure out what we're going to accept for financials. Is it going to be a P&L for 12 months?
Yeah.
Is it going to be, a tax return plus the 6 months of interims? What are we going to accept?
They have to file forms with the DOR on a monthly basis. Is that correct?
I don't know how often they file with the DOR. I would assume that it's monthly, but I'd have to confirm.
They're all brand new forms. Nobody's ever used them yet.
Right.
They're online.
Yep, they're available online. That's right, because it's a new. I mean, they haven't commenced a single sale yet.
Right.
Under the new taxable regime, so.
What we use from Healthy Farms is the DOR tax returns. They have to file monthly with the DOR.
Got it. Okay.
Are you required to do that if you're a for-profit as well? Because I know they're not.
Oh, yeah,
For-profit.
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, question, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
So it sounds like what Mike is saying is that would work. If they started in July, they're turning in a monthly thing, and so July the following year, even though you're not closing out your yearly books, there'd be something for them to go on and make the
Yeah,
payment.
because we found them.
Okay.
No, makes sense to me. All right. Any other questions?
Actually, I just have one.
Yeah.
It isn't specifically related to the hosting agreement, but I've had some conversations with the water commissioner here in town. Do you guys have like an estimate of how much water you would be using per day?
Yeah.
Facility or?
During our community agreement, and that's the only reason I would know this, we were projected about 400 gallons of water a day.
400?
Yeah, 400. That was based on, I think he used 40 gallons a day per employee at a rough number of 6 employees.
Okay.
Plus, I think it was about 250 to 200 gallons for our actual extraction.
I got you, okay. All right, good.
Mr. Chair, also, I had met with the water commissioners at their last meeting, and I asked them specifically to keep an eye on water usage for the cannabis facilities, and they said they would do that.
Did they have any concern?
Not
Yes, so Steve King had mentioned that if anyone's about 100,000 gallons per day, that they would need to figure out if that's an issue, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I just figured we wanted to,
Okay.
we probably should add up and figure out how much Healthy Farms and all
Yeah.
that is, yeah, so.
Yep. I hear you. All right. Any other further questions, comments, on the host agreement?
Yeah, I think for me, and nothing against you guys or your business, I don't know if you've been following my position on these types of businesses. I am pro-business in this town. I want people, to come here, make a living, the community prosper. I personally, my own views here is we have two in town right now. We have one which is Healthy Farms, and the other company, Greenbridge or Blossom, whatever they're called now, is going to be coming in. Just my position on this is a conservative position, and it's just wait until all the laws have been ironed out, till the dust is cleared, figure out the actual impact to the town for this. So, nothing personal in terms of my vote, but I will not be voting in favor of it. But I wanted you guys to just understand, the position that I'm basing that decision off of.
So, I wanted to hold off for questions. Do we have any questions? For these guys, because I know this is the first time that we're seeing this, but it's kind of in line with other ones that we've seen. So I'm actually okay voting this tonight. Do you guys have any hesitancy to vote this based on what you see?
I just have two quick questions.
Go ahead.
Just on the termination clause that you referred to earlier. It says that it should be applicable for as long as the company operates the RME in the town. So I'm just curious, does that mean if you decided to expand, say, to Newburyport and you had another facility there, how would that affect this agreement?
It would still stay in effect, so long as they're still producing and processing at the Jewett Street location. As you may recall, this is a business-to-business only facility, so there's no direct retail location here. This is all production and processing for a final retail product to be polished and delivered to a retail location. So this RME facility will operate regardless of any other locations that Peak Limited, seeks out.
Okay. And just my other question really was on the email that we got from town council. I'm just trying to discern here if he is saying that he is okay with this draft, with this final version, based on what I'm reading.
This came from him, right?
This came from town council.
Yeah.
When you say he's seeking confirmation, you meant from Dan.
Yeah, and that's right.
Right.
That's
okay.
right. I mean, I haven't actually given a red line versus our last document, as this came in while we were here, but so long as we were really only working on one last point, and we negotiated over emails the exact language of that particular clause. So long as there's nothing else in there that was changed without...
And that's in there as printed?
I can check.
That's the only other question I had. Sure.
That's correct.
Okay to...
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
This is new to everybody. You see these amounts as okay going forward, agreeable? I guess you'll have to build them into your sales and that sort of thing, but I mean, as a format, you see this as a doable and agreeable?
I do.
Okay. I'm, you know, Mr. Chair, I'm comfortable if, you know, I know that there's been work on this.
Yep.
If Mr. Farrell and Doug both say, yep, okay, we've got the thing from town council, I'm okay with going with that.
All right, Kip, you ready to vote it?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and I know Doug and I am. Okay. Are there any further questions? No? Okay, so let's hear a motion on this and let's vote it.
Mr. Chair, I move that the Georgetown Board of Selectmen approve the Town of Georgetown and Peak Unlimited LLC.
Yeah, Peak Limited LLC.
Peak Limit, I'm sorry, I put on it.
That's quite all right.
Town of Georgetown Board of Selectmen and Peak Limited LLC approve the host community agreement as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the board? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, 4-1 pass.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Doug, appreciate all the hard work on that.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks very much.
Thanks for the help.
Yeah, it does. Hey, good luck.
Congratulations.
Good luck, man.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, that's great.
Gary.
Get started.
Thank you. Yeah.
I mean,
There's still a long way to go, I'm sure.
Yeah.
no, you don't have to.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for attending. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, Dan.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Before we move on, once again, I want to thank Selectman Dawes for his, countless hours and minutes, and I also want to thank Mike Farrell for his efforts into putting this together. I know there's a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails that go back and forth to town council. So to both of you gentlemen, thank you again. Fine job. Okay. All right, moving forward. All right, so I guess we can just start from the top. All right, so let's approve minutes of July 16th and August 13th. All right. So let's start with July 16th. Any questions, issues with, the minutes of that meeting? No? Okay, so I have a motion to approve.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes of the Board of Selectmen meeting for July 16th, 2018 as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to August 13th. Anybody have any questions, comments on that one? Okay, if not, we could have a motion on that.
Mr. Chair, I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the Selectmen meeting minutes from August 13th, 2018 as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, moving on. We have a notice of resignation of Caroline E. Sheehan from the Council on Aging. So Caroline, thank you so much for all your time and efforts that went into Council on Aging. We wish you the best moving forward. We have a building inspector request to waive library building permit fees. Mike, can you expand on this for us? I mean, why, is it for any purpose other than just to waive them?
Yeah, that's all. We don't normally charge.
Okay. So we just need to approve that?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, the building inspector's not authorized to waive them.
Yep, okay.
Mr. Chair, I move that we authorize the Georgetown Building Inspector's request to waive the library building permit fees.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Okay, if not, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, why don't we skip down first to the Newport construction contract approval? We'll save that other one.
That's Elm Street, isn't it?
No, it would be Central.
Street.
Yeah.
Was this the only one, Chip?
Yeah.
Mike,
it fell off. I
want
didn't
to
see it on the
give
schedule.
us some
Probably
feedback on
7
this?
Well, I was just texting Peter, because I know you're gonna ask me a question that I don't have the answer to. This is to strip the asphalt off of Central Street. And we went out to bid. And Newport Construction was low bidder at $1.93 a yard. It's not in the contract, but Peter's using money from Chapter 90, and it's in the neighborhood of, I can't, that's why I was gonna ask him, it's in the neighborhood of about somewhere between $200,000 to $300,000.
Are they planning to add that into the contract, or is it, because it just says per yard, right? So, I don't know.
Well,
Is there a dispute over the?
no, there's no
Yeah.
dispute.
No.
As much as money as Peter has, they're gonna spend on that.
Okay.
How much does he have?
It's in the neighborhood of $200,000 to $300,000.
In terms of the funds we have to pay for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this,
How far is it gonna go, Michael?
I do not know.
Go ahead, Doug.
this is a temporary measure until the whole of Central Street is able to be redone?
Well, they're gonna strip it and then repave it.
So this would be the, we know the-
Can
we know the
we
second.
table this until I get, Peter get back?
Yeah, why don't we do that? Yep. Why don't we do that? All right, so let's skip over this for the time being, and we'll get back to that. So, okay. Mike, do we want to talk about the fall town meeting discussion? Now, or do you want me to hold off on that?
No, we can do that.
All right, why don't we do that, because I know it's something that popped up, so.
Yeah, well, if we're going to have one, we need to get the wheels in motion, but I don't see a need for one.
No.
We don't have to make any adjustments to the current year's budget. There's no really urgent business that would require a town meeting.
Okay.
We don't have any final numbers on the free cash, but I've been speaking with the town accountant, and we'll probably have enough well, we will have enough to cover snow and ice, and we like to have about $300,000 available in that department. And I do believe we'll have enough money to fortify our OPEB fund, start putting money back in there, and add money back into the tax fund as well. I'd say probably put $100,000 in the tax fund and $50,000 in the OPEB fund.
Okay.
You know, it took us 10 years to get where we are. I don't think, you know, we can afford to try to get back there all in, you know, a very short period of time. But if we start showing, and no matter what we did, we have to go out to bond next summer.
Yep.
And Moody's is not gonna change their rating on us.
Even if we show that we're putting money in? No.
I doubt it sincerely, based on our conversations with them.
Well, honestly, it was you know, kind of a nice push anyway, because it's, you know, it's something we should be doing anyway. All right, whether they change their bond rating or not, you know, it's probably good practice, you know, to start looking at that, you know, as just an annual, you know, contribution that we should be making into the staff funds and OPEB. So I was hoping that they would, you know, change that, but if you don't think so, it's still something we should be doing, you know, regardless.
No, because they also, you know, gave us some credit in the future for the marijuana funds, but we're not gonna see that at the earliest for another year, or maybe two. So, you know, any substantial funds build up there.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, in terms of, you know, fall town meeting, does FinCom kind of agree with that? You know, is there anything that they...
I was hoping we would have had our meeting by now. It's gotten postponed, but...
We had another meeting postponed?
We were supposed to meet on the 5th, and that got postponed.
For? Quorum again?
No, the chairman was unable to attend. So it's been rescheduled for the 19th of September.
When's the last time they met?
With a quorum? Probably in May.
Yeah.
They didn't have a quorum that night in June? I think they did. I thought there was
Okay, yeah,
three.
they had.
There was four
yeah,
there.
we did the, yes, Janet's right, we did line item transfers in
Yes.
June.
All right. Well, you know, and I only ask because I know, Gary, you're looking for, you know, kind of a dual meeting, you know, workshop with them, and Ed and I, you know, have had ongoing discussions about that, but again, they've had issues in terms of getting, you know, a quorum together.
Well, we had discussed it as a board, and I believe they had also, when the Moody's report came back.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Basically, it'll happen.
I've no doubt.
That's kind of, and again, it was determined that it might have been a bit premature if we did it over the summer. So Ed and I did discuss that we're going to talk relatively soon. He's going to heal up first, and then, you know, we'll decide on when we want to get together and start, you know, talking about that.
They do have a very aggressive agenda for the meeting on the 19th.
Okay.
Talking about all things budgets and all things bond ratings, things like that. Plans how to go back about getting the bond rating increased.
And that was kind of what prompted us to want to have that workshop. And I don't know if anyone else has tried to, I went over some things earlier this week with Mike on that, you know, just trying to, you know, figure out ways going forward that we can start saving, not just spending.
Yep. Yeah, well, and then that's definitely the conversation, you know, that we need to, you know, be having. And you know, I'll say that I think they're in agreement. You know, I think FinCom's certainly on board with that. So we just have to, you know, start talking about it. You know, kind of lay a good path, starting this year and doing that, and you know, go from there. So, okay. Well, let us know. I mean, I don't think there's anything for me that, would require me to say we need a fall town meeting. So if you don't think that we do, then.
No, there's no financial reason to have it, yeah. Other than transferring the money into those funds, that would be the only possible reason to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if something came up, we can always have the meeting at any time if needed. It doesn't,
Yes.
I mean, we typically try to, when it's needed, we try to have it at a certain time, but.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Talking with the treasurer and the assessor actually, if we don't have a town meeting, he requests that he get before the board and do the classification study, voting, because we usually wait till after town meeting. He's got the tax rate certified already and can come to the board. I think he has to post the classification hearing for a 2-week notice.
Yeah.
So he couldn't come on the 24th, but he could come the first meeting in October.
Okay. All right. Well, if anything changes, we can always do that. So, anybody want to add anything to that topic? No. Okay. If not, we'll move forward on that. Moving down to the Selectmen's report. We're back to our non-summer schedule. I'll call it. So, our next meeting is September 24th. Unless we need that special action now on that topic. Mike, did you get everyone's feedback into potentially next week?
Yes, everybody's available.
Everybody's available? Okay, so we're gonna do that?
Yes.
All right. So I figure, gentlemen, that we will meet next week. We have, does everybody know why we're meeting? Is basically why we couldn't meet earlier tonight, right? And Chief Mitchell had, something he had to go to. So I appreciate everyone opening up their calendar for next Monday so that we can review this. So anyway.
Executive session, right?
No.
No.
One of the targets of the meeting, for lack of a better word, requested it be a public meeting and televised.
Thanks, man. Yeah. So actually, as we look at the calendar, our next meeting is next week, the 17th. Then we will have our normal scheduled meeting on the 24th. And just to rattle them off, from there, October 15th and 29th, November 5th and November 19th, December 3rd and December 17th. And that will get us through to the beginning of 2019.
I have a question on that, Mr. Chair. In November, does Town Hall close the Monday after Thanksgiving? No.
The Friday after.
We're closed Friday.
Friday after Thanksgiving.
Well, we're always closed on Fridays.
Oh, no, right, so why aren't we having it on the 12th and the 26th of November?
The 12th we are closed?
It's
Because
Veterans
it's-
Day observed.
Okay.
Veterans Day is on
because it's a week.
Sunday.
Oh, so, all right. So although we have the ceremony on the 11th, the town offices, or whatever.
Paid holiday.
It's a paid holiday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I think I've mentioned to you, I'm going to be out of town on the 24th.
Correct, yes. So we're just gonna have to have a meeting, gentlemen, without Mike. We're just gonna have to scrape by.
If I can,
We're gonna miss you, Mike.
And the meetings, I did work around the holidays because we have October,
right.
we have Columbus
Just
Day.
Well, that's why I was curious.
Yeah, it was a little,
Yeah.
those were like, me and Mike went over just
Yeah.
best dates we could find.
Sure.
for the two meetings. There
Understood.
might be 1 week, we might have 2 meetings. one right
The
after
the
another.
29th to the 5th, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Gary.
just on next week, I mean, I know we're having a special meeting and we thought it was gonna be, executive session. People have the right to ask that it be open. But isn't it our decision where it's held and whether we have it televised or not? Isn't that more on us?
Yes. I mean, the subject has the right to record it.
Yeah.
But we don't have to record
So
it.
I'd just like to say, I think, you make a decision what you think is best practice for us. I think going forward is what I'd like to say.
So wait a minute. So Mike, this contradicts what you and I spoke about then. So we have someone who's requesting the public meeting rather than an executive session.
And that'd be on.
And that'd be on TV, but we don't, and now you're saying we don't have to grant that? I thought it was my understanding that you said that we do have to grant.
No, I didn't. We have to grant a public meeting. He's asked that it could be video broadcast.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, I don't know why we would make exceptions for public meetings. I mean, if it's a public meeting, we always broadcast it, so why we would decide any differently? I don't know. I don't know what the topic is.
Well,
so.
there are workshop type formats that we have on the second floor.
Well, it's a workshop.
And,
This isn't
yeah,
a workshop.
and well, this may well be a workshop.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not that familiar with it. I'm just.
It's not a workshop.
Yeah, I mean, why don't we keep it the way, if it needs to be public, we'll do it the way we always do. Okay. Anything more on the schedule? All right, moving forward. So here's here's a topic that I think has been put aside just because of the uncertainty around how to kind of look at it. We've had some smaller discussions, but I wanted to bring it up because there are a couple of things that have come across my desk and wanted to get some feedback, and that's a discussion around utilization of funds collected from the Healthy Farms money that was given in June. Yeah, June. So, as everybody knows, we got our initial installment from them, and then we haven't touched it other than some legal fees. Mike, what's the balance in that right now? It's about 80 something.
Well, we spent about
17,
right? So it's about 83.
17 or 18
Yeah.
for legal fees.
Right, so it's about 82,000. Okay. So we haven't touched it, but I think it's healthy to maybe start talking about the funds that are in there, maybe some thoughts that different board members have surrounding the funds, if any. Again, we've thrown it out there that maybe we should just leave them there, okay, and let them accumulate. But we have challenges this year that we're looking at. We have funds that we want to put money into. So again, I want to have it be open to the board members as far as if there's anything that you've been thinking about, any suggestions that you have. I will hold my comments till after, because I do have a couple that I want to give to the board that have come across my desk. But with that being said, I'm going to throw it out there. Who wants to start on on anything pertaining to these funds?
Well, just to start off, if I could, aren't there restrictions on what we can do with the money?
I don't know on the medical cannabis side. It's not the same law as the adult use side.
Oh.
And I have talked to town council about this. The way that was written is that it is to the discretion of the town on the medical side, per Selectman Dawes' feedback. The only concern that they had is that really the design of these kinds of funds are supposed to be for community impact, right? So
For a recreational use.
what's that?
For recreation.
Well, even that, he said the spirit of that. This is coming from town council.
Yeah.
The spirit of it is that. So he just, he basically said, listen, he would suggest talking to and just letting Healthy Farms know, what we might be spending these funds on, if we don't feel like there's really a community impact, that we're spending the funds on. So, but other than that, because it was the medical side, Kip, then it's the discretion of, the town.
Okay.
Okay. Now, recreational is something different. Okay, Steve?
Yeah, I think we should probably ask Chief Cudmore, because I know they're, from what I understand, they're actually starting to ramp up training for the officers on the gray market, I guess they're calling it, as opposed to the black market.
Yeah.
So he's already getting feedback from other communities of what they're preparing for. In terms of people selling it illegally, in terms of people driving under the influence, what the new laws and all that stuff is. So I think it might be good just to kind of get an idea of what he thinks the cost would be on his side to start all the new programs. And then we could, collectively decide as a board. That would be one thing. And I think the other thing, as we spoke about earlier, that there was a town that had a special home rule or something that's still being, or a home act, I forget the actual name of it, Mike. Is it a home rule or a home act?
Home.
It has to be voted on by the legislature.
Yes.
And it only applies to that particular town. So one of the towns, what they did is they actually got approval, or they're in the process. I think it's all, both the House and the Senate, I think, are in favor of it. It just has to go through the process. But what they did there was they said of, anything that comes in from a community host agreement, a percentage of it is going to go to the stabilization fund. A percentage of it is going to go for roads, and they all met as I don't know if they did it as a town meeting or selectmen, but that's another option that we could go. We can go forward with. So those are just my two ideas. Or we could, third, we can just hold on to it and wait and see.
Yeah,
how things happen, right?
We're just throwing everything on the table.
Yeah.
Doug, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'd like the other guys, because I have plenty of thoughts, but I'd like the other guys to chime in before I say anything.
All right. Go ahead, Gary.
Well, when we signed that, we stirred up a lot of controversy by doing it that way, and we did it the way our attorneys told us to do it. But I've always been for finding a way that gives the townspeople some say in how this money gets spent. And saying that, some of what Selectman has said would put it that way. If you put it into those funds, then town meeting votes and decides how those monies get spent. However, we've already spent some of it on something that we know was a direct impact. So, and we need to remember that. What direct impacts have we had? And we're running up more bills. So, putting perhaps some to go for legal. But, that's the thing that I think we have to work with Mike, and I think we have to work with the Finance Committee on it also going forward. But I'm not in favor of keeping it out for perhaps special things that are going to come that we can't even perhaps say are part of the impact of it. So I like what Steve was saying. If we can divvy it up and put it in special in some of those accounts, then townspeople have a say in it, because they have to decide at town meeting how it gets spent, and that's just the more we can allow the townspeople to have a say in how that money gets spent, the happier I'm going to be.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, in terms of the legal fees, it's my opinion that the those legal fees are cost of doing business. We're kind of paving the way here. So I don't see those as, the fees being as high as they are, they're not a recurring cost per se at that level. We've got a pretty good template of, what we tried to reuse there. The one thing I'll say though about moving forward is that I just think it's not really what I would want to do with the funds. It's more what I don't want to use the funds for. And I think basically anything operational, any type of operational expense, I think is very dangerous to do. So I wouldn't be in favor of that. But I think Selectman Sadler's idea of divvying that up amongst certain funds, whatever they are, I think is a great idea. Anything to put the town in a better financial situation long term, I think is a great idea. Put it somewhere where it's going to help us long term instead of just getting the shiny new toy or whatever it is. So I guess my opinion is more of what I would rather not use it for than really what I would want to use it for.
Yeah, sure.
Just to interject, both selectmen mentioned legal fees. First month of July, we spent over $2,000 in direct expense for marijuana legal fees.
Is it over 30 now, is it, for all combined? Is that spreadsheet?
Was 27, so we're approaching 30
grand, yeah.
When you say that, Mike, so what I want to also interject with, and Doug, then I'll let you reply. When we talk about legal fees, I do want to separate, right, to the point that, all right, so Healthy Farms has its own set of legal fees.
Yes.
And these guys, for example, that tonight they have their own legal fees. So we're not going to see any funds from them for a while, right? I mean, they still got to get set up and probably 2 years.
Right.
But I certainly don't want to use the funds collected from Healthy Farms to pay for stuff for Peak. I think we might have to do it initially, but I also want some, all right, you know what, we spent Healthy Farms money back in, here, when we collect Peak funds, maybe reimburse. You know what I'm saying? Because I would rather keep all the legal expenses per entity. And I wouldn't want to throw them all, into one pot. To me, that just doesn't, make sense, because you could have some legal fees that are more than other entities. Because I think the pot will dwindle quite rapidly if we just keep doing it that way. So I'd like to make sure we keep them separate and make sure that we're reimbursing, the town back for, Healthy Farm funds that we had to pay for tonight, for example, to get this host agreement in place. So, just a separation.
We can reclassify funds, but only within that current fiscal year. You can't go back from one fiscal year to another. Steve and I had a conversation, and he brought up a good question. He asked me, how much have we spent? And I went back from the first legal bill that we had with Healthy Farms and to the end of this last fiscal year, and we've spent a total of $27,000 in legal fees. That's with Healthy Farms, Luminous, and Peak and Tink. And there were a lot of expenditures just for the marijuana bylaws. A lot of, probably $4,000 just getting through all that legal stuff too. And that you could, divvy up with everybody, because we had to do the groundwork.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying, I mean, because here we are collecting medicinal money, right? And, from the standpoint of our attorneys, we can spend that money as we see fit. Whereas recreational funds, like for Peak and everything, we're very limited on what we can, spend those funds on. So for me, attorney fees are certainly fall in that arena, where the 3% that we're collecting from these other companies are much easier to spend on legal fees than it is on the medicinal side. So I just want to see what we can do, if anything, because again, it's just easier to throw the funds that we collect from Peak and on the recreational side at these attorney fees than spending money on the medicinal side, which it seems like we have more flexibility on. So, I don't know if there's a way even internally that we can classify those funds so that we're allotting them to certain areas. But I would rather keep as much medicinal money as we can because, again, we have the flexibility on that side rather than recreation. So anyway, Doug, go ahead.
So, my primary concern is, and not necessarily in this priority, but my primary concern is the health and safety of the community and its first responders. We had an opportunity at town meeting to cover a lot of the expenses that were brought forward for fire and police, but we decided for a reason not to do that. So again, I look at police and fire. There's an imminent danger with fentanyl, and you only have to get some of those things on your skin and you could be in big trouble. This means that police and fire are going to need equipment to protect themselves. You don't know what's in the vehicle if there's an accident. You don't know what's in the home if you go bust the home. So they need to have equipment. They need training. I think we should have, I don't know, 1 or 2 drug recognition experts. And another example of safety, down by the building supply, there's a crosswalk. There's 2 pedestrian signs. You push a button and they start flashing.
LED.
Kind of like what they use on the rail trails when you come to intersection, those lights just flash.
Yeah.
So there's one on each side that Chief Cudmore and our highway surveyor Pete worked on being able to get in. And I think those were $6,000 for the pair. And they have a few other crosswalk spots that they'd like to do that to. That keeps everybody safe, not just kids, but that keeps everybody, well, somewhat safe from when they're in the crosswalk, because at least there'll be some type of indication to the drivers that something's going to take place, other than just somebody on a sidewalk that decides to step off into the crosswalk because they have the sense that they have the right of way. So I think we should spend that monies like that on those types of items. Now, I also think that I'm in agreement with, well, at least I think the rest of you, that if we can move monies to an OPEB or stabilization fund or whatever fund, that we should do that. Okay? But I also think when things come up that are unexpected, that we should do that too. We should use it for that too. And I have no idea. I don't want to throw numbers out in public because I have no idea what the actual numbers would be. But when everything's in operation, I think that we have the potential to have enough money to do a lot of the things we want to do for the pleasurable benefit of the community. But right now, we just have, we'll wait until May. I think Healthy Farms will be presenting us with another check in May. And they're
In May for what?
for year 2 of the medical hosting agreement.
Well, that was July.
Well, it's due, it'll be May 1st, the anniversary.
Yeah.
And they have until June
Yeah.
to present it. Now, they did present it sometime in May,
Yeah. What is the amount for the year 2?
150.
150, okay.
Then, if Bluminous, I'm going to be meeting with the owner of that soon, as soon as he comes back from his vacation. And we'd be, I don't know, we might be looking until 2020 before we realize anything from that. But that'd be $200,000.
Okay. And that's medical, right?
That's,
Yeah, that's medical. Okay.
that was done under the medical laws.
Yep.
So we have that. And then there's plenty of things that, if it was the town's pleasure to improve American Legion Park or wherever, or whatever David and that subcommittee comes up with for surveying on fields.
Yep.
You know, there's plenty of things that are available. We have to also consider that with these buildings come increased tax revenues, because the buildings, when they buy them, are bought higher, so the taxes are higher, and then they're personal property. So we have to remember that too. So there's a gazillion things. I don't think we should just sit, willy-nilly go do stuff, but we need to have this discussion, have a plan. And I would say that right now, given what's taking place in our culture regarding drugs and the increased amount of traffic that's in the community, there was just one. We saw it because somebody posted, the guy had a little road rage, wanted to go out around a school bus while the bus was stopped. You know, but people are getting freaked out because there's so much traffic and everybody's in a hurry. So we need to really be very safety conscious towards the public. So we do the best we can do to ensure their safety while they're out here on the streets. I would never ride a bicycle on these streets, you know? But that's where I think that we need to go. So mine covers a whole host of things.
Yep.
And I'm really just about in favor of anything that benefits the community. But I think that my major concern is with police. I agree with Kip. We should not be using it for operational items, because as with any business, it doesn't matter which one you're talking about, a business can go out of business. And if you're having some form of income from that business and you have it budgeted, well, I've yet to see it where people are going to say, well, we'll get rid of that we used it for. And the next thing to take care of that would be an override. Okay, so we need to really be smart about it. You know, once the industry stabilizes, because it'll have its ups and downs like anything. But once everything gets worked through, which could be another 5 years, you know, before it gets worked through. But I'll tell you what, it's here, it's gonna happen. Coors now purchased a large stake in a cannabis farm in Canada. The company, Constellation Brands, has purchased a 38% stake in a cannabis company in Canada. Altria, the cigarette company, is gearing up to get into the smoke market and vape market for cannabis. So your cigarette companies, your beverage companies, all these companies are gearing up towards cannabis because the pressure's on the federal government to do something with it, all right? And I think we need to be proactive in making sure our citizens and our employees and community are safe.
Okay.
One point of clarification, I thought the Bluminous contract was under the new act.
No, it
We
wasn't.
might want to check that.
It wasn't. I can tell you that right now, it wasn't.
Yeah, he would know.
Just to say, Mr. Chair, at some point, we also want to consider the 3% tax that we may start seeing coming in
Excise tax.
from recreational, because we can possibly direct that into some places, or we can let that go where it goes. But I mean, that also needs to be part of the conversation, I think.
Doesn't that go to free cash?
No, that is an excise tax, and that has to go to general fund.
Okay, that can't get guided in any place.
No, excise taxes are exempted as a revenue stream to that law that we talked about.
Yeah, okay.
That's okay, I mean, it's.
Yeah, well, I mean, then that answers that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, so Mike, now
We
you
know.
have this sum in general fund that's come in during the year. What do you do with it?
Well,
Doesn't it wind up in free cash?
It's an unbudgeted revenue.
Right.
And it will flip to free cash. As long as we don't budget.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like the meals tax, but I mean, that year was gonna be a great thing, and now it's just part of the whole picture.
Yeah. It's automatically goes in.
Right.
So, last, I think I'm also on board, with putting money into the funds, as we said at the beginning of the meeting. We have to, certainly make this an objective of this board to make sure that, we don't ignore, that issue. It is something that is gonna, be here for a while, as Mike said. It's not something we have to take care of all in, one fell swoop, but we have to make sure that we're consistently approaching the issue and doing the right thing, with the money. So I think I'm certainly on board, which makes it a consensus in terms of, looking at these funds and contributing, something almost, again, scratching, clawing our way back to where we need to be. But one conversation that I had that I want to, tell the story to the board was, I had a citizen, come to me and say, you know what? It's a really controversial issue, right? Not everyone likes the fact that we're, we have these types of businesses coming into town. So with the controversy there, I think this is also a good opportunity for us to show the community what might be coming back, as a result, of having, a business like Healthy Farms and all these other companies come in. So, we have a sum of money, and what I like to do is a couple of different things. One being the funds, but also number two. So there's a project that I was alerted to, and I think it's a nice project that is really directly related to making sure that we keep a good eye on our children in town. It's a direct impact of maybe having these types of businesses come in, and that is there's now a plot of land in back of Pearlie that they got rid of all the playground equipment there, so now it's really just a flat piece of land. There has been some discussion, all right, around putting some recreational area there, specifically basketball courts, which the town does not really have other than ALP, for outdoor. And it's really, the thought process around it is it'll be a place where the children can go after school, congregate, play some basketball. But it just kind of keeps them occupied. Maybe some of the kids have parents that work late. So it gives them, again, something to do during the weekends, gives them something to do. In addition, because it's in back of Pearlie, we also have Council on Aging there, so we're thinking about putting a bocce court, there, some shuffleboard. So really have it be a recreational area that a lot of people in the community can utilize, right? So it's not just for kids, it's not just for COA, it's for everybody, all right? We have spoken, and when I say we, myself, Carol, Mike Anderson, we've spoken with the Georgetown Light Department. They're open to providing the lighting, to the project, as complimentary. We've also talked to Peter about some fencing, to put on the left side so the balls don't go down the hill and things like that. And, end of the day, it's just something that the community can see and touch, right? To say, you know what, we're getting, this nice, community area, all right, with some of the funds that we've collected, from one of the establishments. It is not a overly expensive project, okay? I will tell you the initial cost estimates are somewhere between $20,000 to $25,000, okay? It is not it wasn't asked that we fund the whole thing, All right, there are different departments that would like to get involved, but it was asked if we would participate if that project moved forward. Okay, so my thought would be, you know, especially up front, you know, is, you know, why don't we kind of give back to the community, you know, first and foremost, and kind of show them what some of these funds that we've collected can mean, you know, to the community, right? We already have education with some of the funds, and I think the parents have seen that, you know, and everything else. But, you know, imagine a project like that where, you know, the community can kind of go and say, hey, isn't this cool? You know, all the kids are there, you know, after school on a Saturday or a Sunday, and that's a direct result. So I wanted to introduce that to the board as an option because of the fact that I was intrigued, you know, by it. You know, again, it's just kind of a flat area. Again, outdoor basketball courts is nothing that we really have in town. It also adds some bocce court, you know, the shuffleboard for our folks at Council on Aging. And certainly if they want to go shoot hoops, they can go shoot hoops too, right? So it doesn't matter. So just something that I want to make sure that I let the board know about. I was excited about it, you know, about the prospects of it, but you know, certainly it would be something that the board would have to, you know, talk about and decide. The second thing that I wanted to throw out there was, and Mike, I need your help with this, is we still have National Ave, okay? We still have an issue with that land that's, you know, Spike Strip, we'll call it, in which, you know, we're getting closer and closer, you know, talking to John about where we're at. We're getting closer and closer to trying to figure out what we can do, you know, there. So it's an extremely important project to the town, you know, based on what we can, you know, do with that piece of land, what it amounts to from a fiscal standpoint. So, you know, my thought is we also have to think of that, because if we have a lump sum of money and we need some money to maybe even purchase those 2 pieces of land so then we can market the whole thing, it's to our benefit, because it would be awfully hard for us to market that land without those two pieces. We're losing a lot of money if we even market it and we even sell that without the 2 pieces. Right, so I know there have been some discussions, you know, with the owner of that land, and you know, it might be something that we might have to take a swing at. So, Mike, do you have any information on where we are, you know, with that situation?
I do not.
No? Okay.
No.
So, I mean, I know John said he had talked to Rizzo about that. Rizzo's kind of playing some hardball on that. So, you know, maybe we just need to get some feedback from John, you know, Cashel on that, because that might really be an immediate need, you know, if we get the opportunity to buy that land.
We could probably discuss that as in the next economic development, and then just give an update back to the board.
Yeah, I mean, you know, because as much as I'd like to contribute to funds and, you know, maybe a recreational space or, you know, even safety, in my mind, that is a huge opportunity, the biggest opportunity this town has in raising, you know, potentially 7 figures, okay, you know, to sell that land or whatever we want to do with it. And if we need some funds to get us to that point, I think we need to be ready, you know, to do that. Yeah. Hold on, Gary was first. Go ahead, Gary.
Well, I just wanted to say that, you know, it's probably a wise business move. Sometimes you have to spend money to make money, and I can see where you're going with that. Basketball court, again, a novel idea. But both of them things go back to what some people feared, that it becomes a slush fund spent by the selectmen. Don't want to put it in that terms, but, you know, now, I don't know, because the basketball court, that's a great idea. But there's probably other people out there that well, gee, why couldn't they go for that? So there's probably a lot of people that, if they said, you got some money you're giving away, could line up for it. You know, being a member of the community preservation, you see it. I mean, we got money, and we hope that the decisions we make are wise. And then it's voted on at town meeting. So, I mean, I could see some of them things, and you could say, listen, you could go to town meeting and say, we want to build a basketball court. We put some money in the capital fund. There it is. Do you as a town want to build it or not? And to me, that's a town moving forward, making its decisions, not one board doing it. So,
Understood. Okay, Doug,
Regarding, Steve, when is the next Economic Development Committee meeting?
Good question. I think it might be this week. I'll have to check.
it's either tomorrow or next Tuesday.
it's, I don't think it was on the, Janet prints me off the meetings. I don't think we had
Probably
one.
next
Tuesday.
Next
Yeah.
Tuesday,
Next
probably,
week.
yeah. I'll find it and I'll show you.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I have to agree with Gary. I don't like just being the one to, and I know we put it in the contract, but the fact that we may have an avenue now to have a special home act that says that we can put it somewhere in a particular fund, whether it's capital improvement, which we all seem to agree like it's more of a one-time expenditure, right? I think we all have, I don't know, I shouldn't say that. But I think, yeah, at the end of the day, right, this is it's the town's money, right? So the town should have say in how we spend it.
You look down the road, I mean, you know, we just purchased this land, and when we were talking about future plans, you know, the police chief and fire chief came in, hey, here's just a rough idea what we want to do.
Yeah.
That's going to take money.
The Don and Fred show.
You know, so, but if you can start saving for that ahead of time and say, you know, this is coming down the road, even if you can just pay for the plans, because we know from building a school, these things don't come cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this tonight, what we're spending for, you know, it's just to build what I believe is a dirt driveway up there on top of a hill. And we're 21,000 just in engineering costs. That's, you know, so.
Well, with that being said, gentlemen, don't forget, I mean, we have 83 now, we have another payment of 150 coming next year, right? We're talking about a very small cost that can show the community something, you know, that we've been working towards. Whether it be, you know, we provide 10,000 of the 20 to 25, whether it be 15, you know, it's a small amount of money compared to what we have in there now and what we're gonna be getting. And, you know, there is an element of, you know, again, giving back to the community and having them, you know, kind of feel and touch something, right? And that's all I'm saying. And, you know, I personally, being a banker myself, I'd like to throw it all in the staff fund, right? And kind of do it that way. But again, we have to, you know, look at some of the folks out there who are saying, you know, what do we get, you know, for having a facility like that, right?
I suggest that everybody be patient.
Yeah, I mean, you don't.
Don't think because you have $80,000 is a lot of money to burn a hole in.
Of course not.
To what you're saying, I mean, you know, community preservation, we'll be starting to have meetings very shortly, and that's also the type of ideas that can come in front of us, and it's September, so 8 months down the road when we're having a town meeting, if, you know, that's sort of where I say people getting, you know, that's like giving little internal grants to all of these people who have these ideas. You know, if you wanted to have something, some sort of thing like that, part of that, work it into it, that, hey, maybe we take a certain amount and we set it aside for something like that. But, you know, I think it's something that people come before boards and committees and make presentations, and then you decide. That's, you know, that's
fair.
Yeah, well, I just want you all to remember your first responders.
agreed. And if we could put it aside for the future of building them something,
Well,
I mean,
but I'm
that's.
talking about
you know.
equipment that we
Yeah.
didn't buy. I mean, we used some STAP funds that other funds that we could have done from free cash and then had $99,000 to spend on something else.
But they could also, again, they come forward, they say, listen, you put this money into the stabilization fund, we'd now like a warrant article taking it out for this. And you say, yeah, makes sense.
Well, all right, well, listen, thanks for the feedback, gentlemen. It was a nice first discussion.
Thank you for having us.
Again, I just wanted to throw some of the ideas out. And, you know, if I get any more information on that, you know, potential project, I'll certainly pass it along. And we can work with some of the folks that are heading up that effort, and have them even come in, tell us a little bit more about it, and we can go from there, okay? Mike, just back to the Newport construction thing.
Yeah, I heard back from Peter. The Newport construction is for a total of $55,000. And then there's a separate contract for paving, which will follow after that for $160,000. We already have that bidded up. That was bid out last year. We put in our contracts that we can extend it up to 3 years. And we get it at last year's price too, so we've been doing that for we usually bid the highway materials for every 3 years.
So are there any numbers that need to be filled in on this?
No, it was the low bid for that, it's in the contract.
55 for the material?
No, they are gonna remove, $55,000 worth of materials at $193 a yard.
Is it the whole street, Mike? Did he get, so it goes right to the Boxford line? Is that what?
I didn't ask him that.
Sorry.
It's pretty far though.
He does what he can do.
It's not all the way to Boxford, it's out past Noonan, so.
It's past Noonan, so, yeah, that's good.
Well, if it's $1.93 a yard, you can do the math. If it's the same,
No, it's not, it's not a lineal yard, it's cubic yards.
I mean, you gotta, that's the thing.
200 feet.
You gotta figure how many, $1.93,
1,700 yards in a mile.
Depends on how many houses there are, how many yards.
Yeah, but I think it's, when you're talking yardage,
it's
you're
the width,
talking
too.
cubic yards, what goes into a dump truck. I don't think you're talking lineal.
How wide's the street?
We didn't say cubic yards, so.
Yeah, well, I think that's,
damn it, always throwing.
I could be wrong too.
Was that, man?
Thought I had that.
No,
It's not that simple anymore.
It's all the way out to the highway.
Any
We're-
questions asked them, because Peter's listening. It goes from the post office to the Boxford line.
Oh, nice, okay,
Thanks,
great.
Pete.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. All right.
Yeah, Pete, what about cubic yards versus yards?
Ding.
Yeah, right.
Well, then what was it that we've been moved up on the list for Central Street? Is this it? Or that with state aid?
No, I think you're thinking 97, and I think you're
Yeah,
thinking
that's
West
East
Main.
Street, or West Main Street, yes.
Yeah.
Going back.
I think you're thinking West Main.
Sidewalks all the way
Yeah,
to Newlands, right?
Yeah, right? For the complete streets program.
Is that part of it?
No.
No, that's not the sidewalks.
West Main Street is paving from
Oh, it's right from about.
Groveland up.
Yeah,
It's
that,
about from Dick Boucher's house
State's doing
to the
that.
Groveland line.
Gotcha.
I thought that was part of it. Ding.
That project's in meters.
No state funds.
That's in meters. That's great. That's using the metric system.
All right, so we need approval for this one?
Every other year.
All right.
So I move, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the contract documents for the bituminous concrete excavation by Cold Planner, as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Okay. Thanks again, Peter, for the clarification. Appreciate it. All right, appointments and approvals, request, request for the COA to appoint Gene Robinson and Carol Westhour as alternate members. Let's see.
Alternate members?
Let's see.
Could be one motion.
We can do one motion for that?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the request of the COA, Council on Aging, to appoint Gene Robertson and Carol Westhour as alternate members, term to expire June 30, 2019.
You have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
So Gene and Carol, thank you so much for throwing yourself out there for your service. We appreciate it. Good luck with that. See, we have Water Department surplus of property on 2 vehicles. Mike, this is just simple.
Yeah,
Sideways.
yeah, the water company, the water department's getting rid of,
It's like a van and a utility bin? Okay. Any discussion from the board on that? Okay, do I have a motion then?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the Water Department request for surplus property, 2 vehicles, a 2005 GMC Safari van and 2003 GMC C15 utility.
second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion further? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. Mike, before we move to adjournment, what, you got anything you want to add?
Yeah, I don't think, we, I think I did indicate to, I don't know if it's the whole board or just a couple of you, we had accident, well, our fire truck caught fire about a month ago.
Engine.
Yeah, engine 5.
Engine 5, right,
Which is the vehicle we were getting ready to replace.
Right.
It was declared a total loss. And the good news is we have replacement cost guarantee on the vehicle.
Oh.
So we're getting $530,000.
Oh, wow.
That's almost a new truck, right?
It is a new truck.
It is? Thought they were over
well,
6, yeah.
Yeah, well, they need about $70,000 to put equipment and hose and things like that.
Wow, that's
So we'll get a brand new truck for 70 grand.
Man.
And where does that 70 grand come from?
Well, it would have to come from.
Staff fund.
No.
I knew he was going there.
No way. I mean, that's something that could come out of free cash if we have enough, but we'll find the 70,000 somewhere, even if it has to come out of the fire department budget.
Okay.
Yeah, that's awesome, wow.
Well, that's why I asked.
That's great news.
Yeah. But
Well, why not? That's what I'm saying. I mean,
I have a practice of any vehicle, we insure with Maya.
yeah.
Any vehicle that is qualified for replacement cost guarantee, we pay a little bit extra, and it's not much. And we've, 3 years ago, one of the highway trucks got rolled and got totaled. We got a brand new dump truck. 2 years ago, well, we've gotten brand new police cruisers, 2 of them, because they were totaled in accidents. And now, a $500,000 fire truck. So we've gotten at least $750,000 in new vehicles over the last 3 years.
I think we're gonna get our cancellation notices. Pretty soon.
Our premiums gone up?
No, I mean, we pay, like I said, we pay extra, but it's only about $1,000 extra per vehicle.
Yeah.
And it's proved to be well worth them. So,
You should be able to hit that on the first time.
Did I get that from her?
Just go and sit now.
That's the transfers.
yes, you did, but we're not doing that tonight.
Okay. Well, good.
This is the one,
Yeah.
yeah, this is the one you've already done. That's why there was an issue with the water bill. Dave thought he paid it, but there was no money to pay the bill. So Mary was gonna do a line item transfer, but I got the wrong paperwork to do it. So we'll have to do it at the next meeting.
He wanted to use fiscal 19 funds, and it was a fiscal 18 bill.
Yeah.
And that's why Mary said there was no funds, you know, he thought it was, but when she looked into it, it was the wrong fiscal year, so.
Okay. Mike, you want to bring the board up to speed on the eyesore next door?
That was it. That's what I was gonna ask.
We're as close as we can be. We're just now, everybody has signed off. Dig safe, if you drive by, you can see the flags. And we're waiting for the gas company to cap the pipe in the street. Once that is done, the building will come down.
Bring your hammers, one and all.
How about the granite? We'll have to have, are we saving the granite?
Yeah, the granite steps are going to Camp Dennison, and Peter's gonna take the granite foundation blocks.
Nice.
So the demo crew will just set them aside, and Peter will take care of them.
Great.
That's good.
Anything else?
No, that's it for
Okay.
now.
Anybody else have anything that they want to bring up? No? All right, so, again, we will be back here next week, 7 o'clock, Mike?
6.
That'll be 6 o'clock? Okay, 6 o'clock here, next week. We'll just have that, meeting, and then our next full meeting will be the following week, the 24th at 7. So if nobody else has anything to add, again, I would like to remind our public about the 9/11 ceremony tomorrow at the fire station. If you can attend, that would be wonderful. So if we have nothing more, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, all.
Thank you.
It's one of those cricket ones.